Dungeons and Dragons, old school. And I'm going to be covering the second edition Monster Manual. Well, monsters and a bit of the fluff around the Monster Manual for second edition, where AD&D went with the compendium and how it got back to the hardcover. And we'll talk a bit about the artist. Then we'll simply go into some monsters. I picked out 5 monsters. I don't want to say what they are now. And we're going to talk about those monsters, how you could use them, how they're fun. And that's going to be straightforward. It's not going to be like some other rundowns. It's going to be fluff, giving you some background, just a straight up background of how we got back at the end to the hardcover Monster Manual for second edition. And then we'll go into some fun monsters that were popular, very popular in the Monster Manual. So we'll talk about those, and that's going to be what I'm covering tonight. I hope it's fun. Now, of course, early, it's Joe Rogan time, as they say. Early on, we're just going to have some fun, kick it, talk about whatever. Let's talk about campaigns. When I hear people talk about campaigns, I notice there's a lot of talk where they take their view of campaigns and whatnot from modules. I'm a sandbox dungeon master. I don't mean sandbox from the modules. It's a redefined version of what the sandbox was. I'm going back to the real sandbox style of gaming before that. When I hear people say it's, and this is not to degrade anybody, when they say, well, I could do a long-term campaign, or I could do something in the vein of domain play. I could do this type of gaming, or I can do something chill, like focus on mystery. I go, there's nothing wrong with these concepts, but I hate limitations. I'm someone who can do it all. And I'm someone who's open to do it all. When I start a sandbox campaign, if you ask me, well, what kind of campaign is this going to be? And we're going to do a lot of action. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to let you, the players, do what you want. Now, I'm going to have some ideas at the start, some basic ideas, but I'm going to let my mind explore with you. We're going to improvise together. I'm going to improvise, and all options are on the table. I'm going to run a long campaign where we could do mystery. We could do some city campaigning, politics. Then we can go at adventuring. Hey, if you want to, we can even stop by a dungeon, even though mine are going to be gritty as fuck. But they can be there. We can get into domain play. You can open a business. At a higher level, you can start a guild. Form up a fort. Make an army. And all areas can be touched on and gone back to. You could be in the city, doing the mystery, trying to solve something. And then, maybe you solve it. Maybe you don't right away. Maybe you get close to it. Does it need to be solved right away? Who knows? Do you want to go at adventuring before you complete it? Or have you completed it? And just completing it, complete the campaign? No. You can go to adventure. You can go out and do all these things in the same campaign for me, because I want the door to be open to do whatever. If you say, how are your sessions going to go, Stephen? I can't predict that. Some sessions could be completely what you call like a social interaction. They could be. Could be a lot of that during a session. It could be mainly that. Next session could be nothing but combat. Right? I mean, it just depends on what the situation is. Did you go to the dungeon? Are you in that gritty spot? Are you surrounded by enemies? Well, we're going to have a lot of combat. What about activities? Jumping over things, crafting things. Oh, we could do a lot of that. And some sessions could be mixed of all these things. A little bit of combat, a little bit of talking. Right? Maybe at the start, you're still trying to solve the mystery, but you have to go check something out. I never plan ahead on what my sessions are going to be. I never guarantee that a session is going to be 50% this or 50% that. I'm a feel it out type of game master when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, especially, right? I'm a feel it out. What does the situation call for? And that's what I give you. That's it. Where did you go? Remember, I'm letting players lead a lot of the game. I'm improvising and planning around what they do and how they react to the things that I improvise in. I never worry about trying to predict what that's going to mean, what they're going to do. I never try to aim at a certain style of session. All I do is, as a game master, I've always done this: be into everything, be capable of doing everything, and if you can do that, well, then the limitations are taken off of you, and then you can run a long campaign where there's domain play. There could be war. There could be war at one point. You build up an army at one point in the game. Oh, we're going to have war. Early on, it could be adventure. You could care about the politics in the city as players. Okay, let's care about that. Is that what you want to pay attention to? And is that what my improvising, am I inspired to improvise certain things in that are aimed at that? And how much does that stuff catch the player's interest? How long do they maintain their focus on these things? I don't know, and I don't force it. I like domain play and starting businesses. I don't force that on players ever. Ever. I don't say you have to start a business. I don't expect you to start a business. Up to you. Some players do. Some players don't. Some players get to level 9 and they could be playing a thief and they're just like, yeah, I'm not going to bother starting a guild. Okay, cool. And some players do. I'm a go with the flow type of game master. And I like that freedom. I like the freedom of being able, well, first off, you got to be capable of being able to do all of it and improvise. And improvising is the big secret. Improvise and build off your improvisation and the freedom to let players move away from your plan to work without getting upset about that. So I could start off a sandbox game where they loosely go after something. I build towards that thing and they decide for whatever reason, boom, now there could be consequences. I apply all realism in there. Are you avoiding the danger that's coming at your place? Okay, still coming, right? Doesn't mean it's not. Am I going to do that as a punishment? No, that was part of, I improvised this threat coming in, so you decide to leave it alone. Well, okay, well, the threat's still going to come, man. It's like, I'm not going to do it personally to punish you, but I'm going to let any realism play itself out. I don't look at the game as a way to use it to control players. I like complete freedom. I do as a player myself. So I run a game as I want to play it. That's always been my aim as a game master. I like that freedom of, okay, you're halfway through the adventure. Oh, you're going to turn and go somewhere else? Okay, let's do it. And I'm comfortable, really comfortable with dropping work and improvising. I can't tell you how many times I have improvised something and then I start working on it because the players are going at this thing. And I got like pages of stuff, man. Like I'm ready to go that night. And like 20 minutes in, they're like, yeah, we're going to go do something else. Okay. Now, of course, I can be slightly disappointed that some of the work is just going to be, well, most of it's going to be ignored. Okay, throw that to the side, right? There's all that paperwork down the drain. Now I'm back to improvising the entire session. You might think, well, it's like, man, that could have sucked. No, it doesn't. I like improvising, so I don't care. And what I do is I make sure to not get emotionally attached to things. So your mentality as a game master is important before you get there. You got to tell yourself what you're going to accept and what you're not going to, and then you got to be real. You can't say you're okay with improvising off a path, but then you want them to stay on the path. You can't do that. You when they turn away, you got to be able to go, okay, I'm ready for this. Let's do it. All my prep is gone. Whatever prep I did, like I improvised earlier in the sessions earlier, they decided they wanted to go on this adventure. I build towards what they are aiming for, but they're going somewhere else. They could start on the politics of a city, really get into it. I could build up all around that. Now it's there forever, and I think they're going to focus on it, but they decide, you know what? We did for like a session or two. We're not going to now. We want to go find dungeon. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, baby. I'll improvise everything. I'll improvise work, improvise work. I've had campaigns where I could tell you 80% of the stuff I kept planning for, like for over a year. 80% of my work was in a pile like this big. And you'd be like, well, it was that stuff that they were aiming for, but then never did. And you're like, you built all that? Yeah, I built it all. Did they do any of it? No, but I mean, it's notes and stuff that can come back on them. Like once I develop something, it is there, right? There are consequences, there are things to it. So I do start setting some of it in stone, but I really give players that type of freedom. And I like the fact that in one campaign, I can have fun doing the mystery with them. They can solve it. In the same campaign, later on, we could be out adventuring. In the same campaign, they could be later on opening a business or even building up some type of fort to draw an army in to go to war. I love it all, and I like taking the limitations off. So I never have to worry about me running one type of campaign. That's a module thing. That's a module. Modules are shorter campaigns. They're going to focus on a certain thing, and that's to help out guys that might not be as creative as I am. And you know, it does hurt you because if you have the talent to do some of the stuff, you'll limit yourself when you start playing with modules and stuff because you'll just do that. And it's like they say, the more you don't do something, the more you lose out. It's like, you know, you have a nice car, but if you don't drive it for years, without driving it, that thing just on its own degrades. Right? Use it or lose it, baby. So I like that type of freedom. And in reality, I like I can improvise entire sessions with like breathing air. So I never get intimidated about like, okay, they're going off the work I planned. Yeah, okay, let's do it. I can improvise everything. I don't care. I'm okay with it. What you do is you prep some things. I make sure I'm not irresponsible as a DM, right? So I do my best. But players, because of their free choices, go so far off a beaten path that I have to purely improvise. It's just, I'm confident that I can do that. So I'm happy to do it. But I always think you should do a little prep, do some work to just, to make sure you're playing as safe as you can for the sake of the players, for the quality of the game. But outside of that, I'll improvise all day long. So that's where when I have conversations with DMs and they're asking me like, what kind of game do you run? It's like I run anything the players want to do. Or I'll start a campaign and I always do it from a sandbox. And they'll be like, okay, is your campaign going to be like action focused or I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see. And I guarantee this, in almost all cases, players will not know when I'm improvising and when I'm doing something planned. Right? I think fast. I edit, like, in the same session where I'm improvising, I'll come up with the idea through improvisation. I'll edit the idea in my mind. Like, by the time you get to it, in most cases, some things are instant, but in most cases, by the time you get to something, I've edited that thing in my mind 3, 4, 5 times. It will come across. You will experience it like something I've done work on because in a way I have. It's not purely improvised. Now, there's some situations where players put me on the spot and I got to make a decision. Okay. I mean, there's a few tells you can give away. It's like, there's no way he could have came up with that right away. You're right. Right. But for the most part, I want them to not know. Most of it is if it's planned or if it's not planned, which is not hard to do. And that's not a brag point. That's just a prep yourself. Get used to how you do this, right? So improvising is one of the most powerful tools you can use, which is just making shit up as people go. And you got to be confident that you can do it. It's something old school always drilled on. That's why I like the idea of loose rules or loose things where I'm not jacked into something where I have to follow something so to a degree that for me to come up with something on the spot, I got to check something out. Does that line up? No. I want the freedom to be able to make it up as I go. And really, I'm letting players make a lot of it up as we go together, right? That's what's happening. And that's complete freedom. It's like a bit of Grand Theft Auto D&D. I like that concept. Grand Theft Auto D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Do what you want. All right. Now you might think, well, in a game like that, would you get like murder hobos? Not really. Most players are. It depends on how your game comes across to them. Like if you're very generic, and they walk into villages or towns where people are just weak. Everyone's level 0 or level 1 or they're higher level and they can beat up people with no problems. Yeah, they'll go at it. But if your game is like, it's unpredictable, you never really know. Like if we mess around at the jeweler here and rob him, could we be in trouble here? Is there people around here that could really... If they worry about that, in most cases, they might rob somewhere. But the idea of running around killing an entire village or even town will not be on their to-do list. I've never had an issue with murder hobos. I've had people consider the concept of going and killing a lot of people in a place. But then they're like, okay, man, it's not that we can't do it in his game, but you got to be very clever if you're going to do this. And it would be over people's heads, so they'd always back off. I've been running since 1991. I've really not had the issue of murder hobos, and I ran thousands of sessions for thousands of players. So, I mean, I just never ran into it, ever. Like, ever. Like, the concept, yes. People thinking about it or talking about it, yes. People actually bothering to try to do it? No. Doesn't mean players with their characters haven't bullied their way around in certain spots, but people always think, like, if you mess about in this town, it is Steven's game. What if the wrong guy comes out? Because if the wrong guy comes out, yeah, we won't be bullying anybody anymore. We'll be getting dealt with. And there has been times where players over the years have not really murdered hobo, but they mess around too much in a town. And yeah, you draw out the wrong guy. Like, it's like, okay, you're messing around at certain places and you're messing around with a certain group, and you decide to just threaten this bar and this young lady who's running the bar or something, the tavern, only to find out the cook in the back is her one-armed old retired fighter father. Retired fighter as a massively powerful warrior who lives a very humble life because of the hard life he's lived. When he comes out, this is a guy, small armies would be like, oh, shit. Like, you don't want to deal with this guy. This guy comes walking out, and suddenly that group of players is like, oh, we fucked up. We fucked up. Like, that guy's going to fuck us. And they're not wrong. He's going to fuck them. With a stick or a sword. But it's not going to be a good day, right? It's not going to be a good day. And then there's all kinds of considerations I put into my games where it's players will always assume, like, if they get to a certain point, it's like imagine using a sleep spell on some massive boss. In my game, players will check everything before they try a trick like that. They'll be like, oh man, are we in a place where like that spell can like reflect on this? Because my players know that when they meet people in the world, that especially people that have survived, right, gotten by, they know these are most likely the kinds of people that will counter cheap maneuvers or cheap things thrown their way. It's likely that they are ready for that. That's how they survived up to this point. That's how they've gotten where they've gotten. Now, in some cases, that person's just not ready for it. No matter where they're at in life, that just happens. But my players will always usually be concerned with checking before assuming sleep will work. Because in some cases, when you see that sort of new person or that person who's being a little off the wall, my groups have always learned sleep. Well, that gets canceled out and actually reflected on you. Reflected? Well, there goes your caster and all the spells he memorized. Oh man. You tell us all our magic has got, yes. All right. All right. Down to swinging. But yeah, I that's my take on campaigns are completely different because I go back to real sandboxing. I don't like what modules call sandboxing because it is redefining what it really is. I really am. I'm so sour on it. It turns me off. Completely turns me off. One moment. Uh, just letting the lady friend know. A lady friend. Letting her know. Letting her know. I'm a little busy with the. You gotta stop and respond to people sometimes, baby. That's how it works. She doesn't know my streaming schedule, I guess, this one. So she's like popping in to say hi. Well, I'm streaming. So yeah, I don't like the redefined sandboxing because it's like a little bit of freedom, but you're still on a railroad. You got to be polite. You got to be polite. You got to say no worries. Oh wow! Live responding to people. That's how you do it, right? Especially when they're nice people. She's a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart. So being nice. She's like, oh, sorry. It's not her fault, of course. Of course. I don't keep everybody tracked of everything. But yes, I don't like the redefined version of sandboxing. Like it's like sandboxing is complete freedom. Not some, not a little bit, not with limitations. So it's like there's a guy out there that talks about a Pathfinder second edition. It's a little bit of looseness. And he keeps calling it a sandbox, but I'm like, kid, you're full of shit. Like, I don't hate you for this, but I just got to be real. You have walls, right? There's some limitation, right? There's just some. Yeah, that's a light railroad, kiddo. That's not a real sandbox. Sorry, that's a fact. It's not an opinion that's up for debate. So you can keep calling what you do sandboxing, but now you're running into a real guy who runs a real sandbox, right? So I'll tell you what a sandbox is. You can keep telling people that your loose, light railroad is a sandbox in Pathfinder Second Edition. That's not what Second Edition offers. It's another attempt to redefine what a sandbox is, but it fails. Same thing with modules. It's redefining the actual thing. We can go all the way back to OD&D, even up to Beckme, and you can check out what a real sandbox is, how people define it, how they understand it. Complete freedom. No walls, no limitations, no nothing. Complete pure improvisation. You are off, completely off. And anything that puts limits on what players can do is the railroad. Loose, tight, hard. That's a railroad. A railroad is force, either light or hard. That's all it is. That's all a railroad is. Force of some form. It doesn't matter how light that force is, that's what a railroad is. It's a level of force, it's a limitation that you run into. It's like, oh, yeah, you're free up to this point. Oh, well, that's a railroad. But I can do whatever I want in the walls, right? Yeah, but still, you're forced into the walls. You're forced into the walls. As a game master running a real sandbox, it's like whatever you can do with your character, I'm going to allow you to go do that thing. That's it. Now it could be foolish, but that's the level of freedom. That's why back when OD&D first comes out, or even Traveler, you're told as players, you can do whatever you want. And that doesn't mean do whatever you want inside of a wall. It's do whatever you want. Well, what does that mean? Well, whatever you can pull off of your character, you can do. That means there's no wall. There's no invisible wall. At least that's the concept of what freedom in sandbox is, right? That's what it is. They say sandbox. Because you keep thinking walls when I say sandbox. We got to go back to a certain style of table that was used for that whole description. But really, it's do whatever you want, and not in walls, in the structure of the game. It's not in the world. It's like in the world, you can go over here. You can go over here. But at any point in that world, you can only go so far over here, and you can't go any further because there is an invisible barrier stopping you. That is a form of railroad, and that's what Pathfinder 2nd Edition offers. That's what a module offers. There is a barrier to how far you can go over. A limit. Think of a sandbox like Minecraft that has no limits. It's a structure of gameplay that you're in. That's what a sandbox really is. A structure of gameplay, right? Not a limitation on where you can go in the world and do what you want. And the second you hit a limitation, an invisible barrier somewhere in the world, you've hit railroad. Railroad doesn't always mean just straight towards an adventure. Railroad just means force onto a line. How loose that line is doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to have an end goal. The line could just be looping around, and you could do what you want with inside of that. So I just hate people redefining it personally, because it's like, dude, what you're doing is a light railroad. Because it's some people think they have advanced thinking in the gaming hobby, and they don't. They label things, and by labeling what something is, they limit their understanding of the complexity of what they're talking about. Like, nuance is completely lost. That's why I don't like to label things. Like, you're this kind of DM. That will limit your thinking, dude. Don't do that. You're running this type of game. That limits your thinking. Even limits what you think people are going to do within that. It's like, well, if you put a label on something and say, this is what the game is, when I do something else, then what? Oh, I thought you were this. Well, that's part of the package, baby. Part of the package. Here's what I'd say. Overall, there should never be a railroad in the game outside of what players choose to get on. There can be railroads, but I always look at it like this. It's like, okay, and even then they're not forced on it with me, but if they want to stay on one, they can. It's like, I see it like this. I'll offer a ticket to a railroad. Or maybe they'll come up with a railroad I never even thought of, meaning a path, a sort of forcing themselves. Right? So when I think of railroad, I don't think of me forcing it as a DM or the world. It's players limit themselves by what they can do. And sometimes the reality of their options could feel a little bit like limiting what they can do, but still it's nothing forced. Right? And even assume limitations. I hate labeling things in the hobby and cutting it down to conversations like that, because what it usually helps when you limit things is it helps people talking a certain way and make arguments that don't stand up. It's like saying in a world of magic, we don't need guns. I heard somebody say they heard that on a stream the other night. I'm like, well, how many things do you have to assume for that to be real? It's like in a world that's made up like this with magic, you don't need guns. What about a world limited with magic? What if you could find an item in the world that would lead to this? What if somebody came back from the future? It is fantasy, and put that in there. See, it's when you talk about things and you label things or you assume things, you cut off all nuance in your thinking. There's no need for a canon in like a magic setting. Well, how much magic are we talking about? See, there's so many things you have to set just to have that conversation go your way, to sound like you know what the fuck you're talking about. If not, you're just talking out your ass. Right? There's so many different levels of magic. So many different levels. Right? So many different levels of magic. What level of magic are you talking about? There's 1,000, if not, there's 100,000. So which level? What kind? What kind of magic are we talking about? Magic just in items? Magic you can cast? What magic? See, there's so much nuance in these things that as a creative, I hate labeling things or trying to limit how I talk about things or making stuff up in my mind before I think over all the nuance that has to be part of that. As a creative, I want all limits off of my thinking, period. Right? Just period. Gone. Is there 1,000 different ways at the very least you could do magic in a setting? Yep. So which style of magic, which forms of magic might make something useless? Well, these 20 make it useless. What about the other 900 plus? Do they make it useless? Have you considered those? Have you? No? So when you make your simple statements, think about how fucking stupid you sound. Simple-minded fucking nonsense. I'm just being real with you. Simple-minded fucking gibberish. Mention which one of the 20 types out of 1,000 you're talking about. All 20? Have you thought about all the different ways magic is applied? So simple statements, labeling things is stupid. And it limits your creativity too. And a lot of guys do it just to make it sound like they know what the fuck they're talking about. That part annoys me a bit. It's like as if you fucking know. As if you fucking know. Especially when I hear kids talking that way. As if you fucking know. Go get some more life experience. Go figure this out a bit more before you talk shit. That'd be good. Simple. Simple. Don't make simple statements, man. You sound so stupid in this hobby, too. I mean, unless it's supported. Unless it's really supported. But it's like, it's such a simple way of looking at it. Magic can be done in 1,000 different ways. Magic can be applied or be viewed into a world in 1,000 different ways. So the second you say, if there's magic, there's none of this. All right, well, which one of the 1,000 types of magic? 20 different types? Are you saying all 1,000 different types? There's probably more than 1,000, to be honest. Well, maybe we'll say 10,000. So out of the 10,000 different ways you can apply magic, which ones are the ones that make the thing not good? And which ones wouldn't support you? Or are you saying all 10,000 support you? Stop talking like you think you know what you're talking about when you don't know shit. That'd be good. I spent, look, it's not about years. I don't think about authority. But I spent, since 1991, as when I first started game mastering, I considered a lot of these things. I had to consider bringing guns into the game. What that would mean, why I would do it. Yeah, there could be reasons why or why not it's going to be applied. See, I run a sandbox world that I developed called Skullhorn. Some parts of the world, people don't even know about magic. So it's almost like no magic is even around there. There's reasons. Some parts of the world has magic. Some parts of the world has high magic. Some parts have low magic. So it's like, what about the part of the world where there's almost no magic? Or it's almost like a myth to people. All right. Are they allowed to develop something? Am I allowed to justify that and say it was there? Because, it wouldn't exist in a world with magic. Well, in the part of the world where there's magic, as far as people know, maybe. And then what kind of magic am I applying? High magic over here, but what do I mean by that? Do you know? What about low magic? What do I mean by that? Do you know? There's 1,000 different ways to apply low magic. Which one am I talking about? So this is when you label things and you have a very simple view on things and you get rid of complex thinking out of your mind, you damage yourself. I hate using labels when it comes to these talks. And I hate pretending like talking like you know it. Like, just stop talking out your ass. Stop talking out your ass. Or say something in a more humble way, because what you sometimes do is you'll insult other people. I have guns in the game, and I have a magic in the world. If you're saying, well, you don't need guns in the magic world, you're saying what I did is bullshit. But you don't know what I fucking did. Simple-minded fucking moron. So instead of trying to insult me, mediocre boy, because you insult a lot of people in the process. Oh, it's stupid. Or you're saying all people that would do that are stupid. But you don't even know the fucking the details of why anything is happening. So that becomes a blanket statement that is spitting in people's faces. And if you're speaking in public, you got to watch what you say in public. You got to watch what you say. People like, oh, like one guy there recently said he's talking vague. I'm not talking vague. I'm being a grown man in public and watching what I say out of respect for other people and being honest. Like, why dishonestly attack people? It's come out and attack that guy, but that would be dishonest. That would be a dishonest attack if I put focus on that guy. That would just be completely immature and childish. I'm a grown man. I'm also a public figure. I got to be careful with what I say in public. So it's not just being vague for the sake of I don't have the nerve to say something. It's I'm being respectful, because what if it's just a dishonest attack? That's not right. So if I put pressure, if I bring that guy's name up and start saying stuff, is that what I'm really looking to do to begin with? Do I hate somebody enough to bring up their name and do it? So what if I'm not even, there's no intention of attacking someone, but maybe I do criticize a certain behavior, right? And so it'd be unfair to bring somebody's name up. That's stupid. Like, you got to be responsible when you speak in public. Public figures always have to be responsible. I'm not without error. I've had to learn the hard way. Made mistakes, said I shouldn't said, and you know, you learn, you evolve. I don't keep doing the mistakes, so repeating. It's really important to me. So you should learn. You should learn to speak, especially intelligently, about something instead of thinking you are. It's like you think you're saying something intelligent, you're not. See, I'm a real deep thinker, creative. So the big difference with someone who's honest like me and a creative is I might not always say the thing that will impress you, but in reality, is there some, like, is the thing that would impress you the thing that would deceive you as well? Would that be a dishonest way of speaking? Would that just be me trying to portray myself as something that I might be, but I'm trying to trick you with making a certain statement? Oh, won't you be impressed with that? That's bullshit. A real complex, creative, deep thinker will be not careful because they're scared or because they're soft. They're careful because they're responsible and they care about the truth, and things like that matter. And I always hope that people that come here respect that about me, that I'm looking to be honest. I don't know. And if you're just looking for drama, that's just a waste of time and childish. I'm not here to entertain you with drama. And I'm not here to entertain you with just saying what you want to hear. Like simple statements. I think that's boring. So public dialogue to me is very, very deeply important. People know this because I bring it up when I openly debate people here. Anyone who comes to my chat, there are certain chatters that will know this about me. Public communication, public debates, I think all that's important. It's the open square of ideas. I think we should have them. But it becomes really deeply important to me. And when I do think I'm on a point, then I'll stress it. There's no doubt. At certain points, I will go for the jugular. But I think that's completely right. Like, that thing has been sorted through enough that I'm not missing nuance by being direct about that statement. Then I'll throw it out there. But I think it's all about bringing value to the hobby, right? I want to make an impact. I want people to look back at what I said and my work and be able to consider things and go, well, there's truth in what he's saying. There's an open-mindedness in what he's saying. And that's more valuable to us than some guy trying to boost his ego on YouTube. Some petty guy on YouTube trying to boost his ego through deceit. That poisons our dialogue. Of course, I want to get somewhere on YouTube, but I also don't want to harm the hobby in the process, which is what a lot of people do. They'll throw the hobby under the bus to get ahead. A lot of guys do that with their egos. Oh, wow. Sorry about background noise. I apologize for that. Some things in life I can't control. Oh my. Okay. Here we go. So in about an hour, we'll talk about monsters. So today it's going to be a little fluff because I want to talk about like why they went from the monster compendium style with the binders to back to hardcover. Why would they bother doing that? Why would that be a thing in their process of moving forward? Because they start off, if you go back to AD&D 1E, hardcover idea of the monster manual. All right. Okay. Oh yes, kitten. I have a cat. My cat likes to keep coming in. So yeah, today we're going to talk about why they went back to hardcover, and then I'm going to jump into some monsters. One that AJ Pickett brought up quite a few times now in chat and during our interview is the Roper. You guys have heard him mention the Roper a few times, so I figured I'd cover the Roper. It is a monster they use in the AD&D second edition book. There wasn't too many original new second edition monsters in that way. There were from like settings and that, but really it's how it what they did with second edition, the monster manual, was add. And it's something I praised the 1E monster manual for doing, but they get all over the place. It's such a messy process with AD&D 1E. They try to organize everything. You got the Dungeon Magazine monsters. You got all these ideas, all scattered everywhere. And with AD&D 1E, they said, let's organize that. Let's organize that, clean it up, add some new elements to it, really make what we have better. And I thought that's the way to go. Improve what you have. Don't worry so much about adding a bunch of new stuff. Then you get to the monster compendium, which is like saying it's almost like TSR admitting like the process is so messy. We so often bring out all these ideas here, there, and everywhere that maybe we need something a bit looser where you can add to the thing, where you can still bring it in like a package. We can organize it, but you can add to it instead of it being just a sort of solid thing. So, initially you can add to it. There was a binder compendium, and that was their idea. But then when you get to the second edition monster manual, they decide just to go right back to what AD&D 1E did, which I thought that's a wise way to be. We're going to talk about the artist. I'm going to show you the images, what certain monsters look like. If you don't know much about that Roper monster, we're going to talk about that. I don't want to mention the other monsters we're going to cover, but these are all monsters that are, I would say, are well known for old school guys. Especially me with second edition. Like I've seen a lot of second edition monster or DMs use these exact monsters over time. So they're very popular. And we can just talk about like how you could use them, what they could do. And most of the language that I've written down for these monsters comes straight from the monster manual itself. So it'd be like just mentioning some of their background, some of their combat, habitat society, ecology, right? We're going to talk about all that stuff, and then we're going to just have fun, talk about the monsters and how you could use them, what they could do in combat, and all that good stuff, right? But nerd it out a bit. Nerd it out. It'd be fun. And I've heard some guys over time. They always look at my channel and go, "You only got a few people coming to watch, or only a few people chat." Well, some people that watch will just do painting, and I'm always drilling at them that that's permission. For the other guys out there that think, "Oh, he's only talking," well, I'm a performer, and also, hey, guys that are getting some consistent talk, like, look, you're yes men, or you're doing cheap drama. Of course, cheap content will get some people that are the clapping seals typing in the side. I just don't do the cheap content. And when I do get commenters here, you might notice if you pay attention to my commenters, they got a lot to say. Like a lot of really intelligent guys. I draw a lot of quality people here. So here's another update. So this Sunday, the July 26th, I'll be interviewing. I call a fellow YouTuber. He doesn't really do YouTube anymore. He's been gone away for a while. But people that have been around here will know him. Sam OG. And I actually ran a one-on-one game for him for a couple of sessions years ago when he wanted to see how I actually ran the game. And it wasn't like we were like playing some long campaign. He just wanted to see, do I do what I say I do? Now, at the time he told me, he couldn't believe that, wow, man, you do things you say you do in your videos. It's like, yeah. And he had a lot of fun. That was it. But I'm not getting him to come here and blow smoke up my ass. It is going to be a good old interview about Sam OG. It's about him. It's all about him. We're going to talk about his background. Now, he's not a guy who makes games. He has no projects, but it's not like I bring people on here that do that. That was an exception with AJ Pickett. And if I can get other designers and game designers to come on, I will. I sent out a bunch of emails, and we'll see if I get responses from people, right? So I love doing the interviews. But Sam OG is a very creative thinker, deep thinker. And he'll have a lot to say. Guy's very talkative. You won't be bored, and has a good history in the hobby. And he's a guy who's done a lot of gaming outside of D&D, which I'm really excited because back in the day when I was around the D&D crowd a lot, there was another crowd of guys, Runeslinger, Sam OG, people like this, right? That were just doing a bunch of different games at the time and had a completely like their own little world, their own little side world, like Burning Wheel, stuff like this, really exciting stuff. And I'm quite happy to get him on. I did try to get Runeslinger on. You never know, that could be somewhere in the future. I think there was a miscommunication between me and him. I tried to get in touch with him, but sometimes I guess, I don't know if YouTube was hiding comments or cutting certain things off or something like that. But I think there was some miscommunication there where it's like he was wondering why I didn't get in touch with him for a long time. But it's like, well, dude, I did. But then I go check to see if my comments are actually showing up on his videos where I tried to further the conversation to set up a certain date with him. And they weren't there. The comments just don't exist. I made them, but sometimes I don't, you don't always check these things. And we all know YouTube has a history of this. Here's what's weird about YouTube too. Say they hide comments. You do a comment on one of my videos and it hides a comment. Like here's, other YouTubers will back me up on this. It could be like a year down the road. And some weird update or you re-sign back into YouTube for whatever reason. And you only, just as you're doing this, are shown hidden comments that have only appeared for you after a year. So the idea that you could approve the comments or even know they existed, you don't even know somebody has typed something out to you. So I try my best to tell people, especially behind the scenes, if you notice a comment doesn't come up, first off, unless there's a good reason I blocked you, right? But if there's not, it's most likely not coming through. And I probably won't get it. So you might want to try to reach out to me again, reach out to me in another way, like through some other platform, right? So there you go, right? And that's what that is. I can't control how funky and glitchy YouTube can be. So I imagine he'll probably maybe get some of my comments like in a year where he'll realize, oh, he was trying to get in touch with me. Yes, I was, dude. Yes, I was. But I'm glad to get Sam OG on. and that will be this Sunday. I'll be doing an interview with Sam OG, right? Uh, if you know about Burning Wheel and a bunch of these side games, guy really dedicated himself. And if you're someone who knows, rest in peace, Shauner, an old school YouTuber who passed away recently. Well, not too recent, like a while ago, but I mean, he was around here for years. His style of gaming and Sam OG are very similar. And these are two people that knew each other really well, and basically, talked a lot. Like these guys are on the same page. So I want to bring Sam OG on, and just boom. It's sad I couldn't do this with Shauner, because I would have. Me and Shauner talked so much, I would have never been shy about having an interview with Shauner. And no matter what he said about me, I guaranteed 100% if I would have asked him, he would have said yes. I can guarantee it. I guarantee Shauner would have came on and talked to me. I had no issues at all. He was just like that. He would have been cool with me. He took shit off me. He wouldn't take off other people. So that would tell you something. And the reason he would take it with stride is because it was just different. There was a different relationship with me and him. A way different relationship. He'd shit on me, but he knows I laugh about it. He'd do complete streams. Oh, he's full of shit. And then I swear a week later, he'd be like commenting on my thing like, I agree with you on that. I know, Shauner. And he's one of the rare guys I wouldn't block. People would probably have noticed that. It's like, wait, Shauner talks a lot of shit about you when he was alive. It's like, hey, you ever notice his comments would still come up in my videos? Because I never blocked him. There was an exception. We privately talked a lot, dude. I just got to be honest. And so I get to sort of get a refresher here. I get to talk to Sam OG. And I game with Sam OG. So for all the people out there that have never seen one of my live plays, maybe Sam OG wants to talk about it. I mean, maybe I don't even care. If he suddenly tells me it sucked, I'll take it for what it is, man. I'm not bringing him on here to shit on him or be negative. I want it to be refreshing because I think its content is great. I think its content is awesome. Honestly, I do. I think his content is magic. Some people reacting here. So I did start up a new server recently. You guys are going to see an invite if you go over to the community post. You can join that server, and we already got some creative people on there already. And it's a server open for anybody. It's about the community, not about me. Period. I just don't like the loopholes people make you go through on other Discord servers. I think they're crazy. So it was like a really control freak stuff. So I was like, okay, sure, yeah, I'm gonna make a server, especially for old school guys, because I see a lot of old school guys where it's like, man, they'll be like, I don't want to go on Discord because, like, man, you got to go through this step. I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay, I'll make a server which will be comfortable for you. No loopholes, no bullshit. You can post content. You can post whatever. You can do all that, and I won't be a control freak about it. It's all about having fun. And so I hope people enjoy the server. It's not about me being a control freak, and I also told you there's a few rules. Like here, I got a few rules on this server. It's called everything. I said TTRPG everything in the video, but it's everything TTRPG. I don't get a lot of rules. I mean, I don't see me really adding, but rule 0. This server is for the TTRPG community. It is not a server for you to take out your personal hate on the server owner. Respect the community. So it's about the community, guys. It's not my YouTube server. It's not about my game. It is just everything for the community. So if you have an issue with me, this is the dumbest place to try to air that, because you'll just get yourself banned, which would be no good. And you don't have to like me to join this. This is about the community, not about me. Okay. Rule 1 after rule 0. Mainly only TTRPG talk. And I got to get on myself and make sure I don't flake out on that, right? Because there's so many subjects where you can lean off it. I want to make sure that it's neutral. It really is. I want it to be. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. And I know subjects outside of the games people are sensitive to. And so I really don't want to talk about other stuff. It turns the server into, it's only these kinds of people. No, man. It's about bringing people together. You can't do that if you have that going on. And I don't want, it's not debate central. It's not argument central. Rule 2, do not attack fellow server members. Again, I just don't want the drama. So no attack each other. It's about getting together for games, sharing things. You can say what you think, but it is not about like having large debates. And if it gets insulting, yeah, if you're going to play that game, no drama. No posting links in general chat. So basically, overall, there's a rule that I don't think needs to be stated. Don't be a dick. But on rule 3, it's no posting links in general chat. The general chat is just to shoot the shit. And I got channels for your links, for your videos, for your drive-through RPG, a recruiting pitch if you want to put a link up for that. Host rules, any links you would have are covered by channels that are already there, right? Suggestions I'm open to, and I'll probably make a chunk for that. It's again, I only just made this server yesterday, so I'm building it up as we go. Rule 4, final rule right now, is no DMing people directly. Ask first. I mean, we're only on a tabletop role-playing game server. I don't see that being a big ask. It's like, look, if you want to ask someone, like I have a request area where you can ask about DMing someone. Can I DM you? There's a reason, because just on a gaming server, so many people spamming and asking for money could be there, and I want to limit it. Now, look, I can't control if somebody just gets DM'd and says nothing to me. But the rule is for this is to let other members know there that if they message me saying, well, this guy's DMing me, you're gone. Don't DM people without asking. And if I'm shown that you are DMing people, like sending direct messages without requesting openly to send that to people, you're gone. And it's nothing personal, just it is rules. There's 99% of people that are going to DM you directly without asking are going to be people asking for money, right? So that's a reason I don't want that to be open. I want that, and we're talking about gaming here. So nobody should be shy, right? And if you want somebody to DM you and they're recruiting, just say to them like, hey, what's up? You can DM me. I'd love to join the game. I don't care. And you don't get to run your game on the server. There's no rules here. So you can recruit, and how you do your pitch, I mean, within reason, or we're going to talk about common sense here. Some rules I don't think I have to mention. Just common sense. Don't be a dick. But, if you're going to do your pitch, I'm not going to tell you how you do it. Just do it. You got a challenge to do it on. Throw your pitch up. There you go. I mean, if you're careless about it, you might get less people trying to join. That's on you. There is just no loopholes, right? And I want people to be able to advertise their stuff. So if you have a YouTube channel or Rumble and you want other people in the hobby to know about it and check out your content, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's good. It'll help you grow. If we can grow that Discord server, it's more people get to see that you got content. I don't mind if you grow. I don't care if you make money off it. Same thing if you're selling a game on drive-thru. Come share the link. Talk about your game. Yeah. I'm not going to call it spam. Right? So I'm not there. It's just we're going to use some common sense at the end of the day. Just no being a dick. I think I'm going to have to make that rule 5. Common sense, don't be a dick. Right? That's it. That's pretty much it. Don't need bullet wars between people. It's not what the server's about. And I don't want it to be political at all. In the way of if you're going to come in and you're someone who might be on one side of the political fence and you're talking like, as if everyone's going to agree with you on this side, and also to talk with other people as if they're crazy, yeah, that's not going to be accepted. You'll get either if I think I know you're just doing it directly, you're fucking gone. Right? But if I think there's a little bit of carelessness in it, but you don't mean it at the end of the day, I'll give you a warning. You keep doing it, you're gone. So there's just people that won't agree. That's how it is, and they're all welcome. That's how it is. And I mean, that's for both sides. Right? Like, I don't want to hear everyone's racist. No, keep that to yourself. We're talking about games here. Stop with the bullshit. I don't want to hear everyone with blue here is fucking crazy and what. Like, I just, no, just fuck off with that shit. We're talking about games. Both sides just need to fucking chill if they want to be accepted there. That's it. Don't come try to own the server. It's not going to be for you. It's for everyone. And for that to be a reality, I got to put some limits in there. Right? I got to put some limits. If not, it blows up or one side gets to say something and the other's no. And there is two sides. I'm sorry. On both accounts, the majority doesn't just agree with either side. So let's not pretend that's the case. Right? Let's not pretend that's because that's fake and phony. Not going to believe that either. Right? So, no. Come politics time, keep it to your fucking self. Now, I mean, there's certain things I can't control. What you put up in your status, like, it's like Americans say 4th of July. If you put like, fuck 4th of July or I love 4th of July, that's fine. Right? Oh, yeah, Bill, I appreciate that. It's going to be a fun place. It is for everybody, Bill. And it's, look, of course, my own views might lean in a certain direction. But, Bill, if you're like me, you come up at a time in the hobby where me and you have sat at the table with people we strongly disagree with. And it was never an issue and never got brought up. And that's sort of the way I want to look at this server. Like it's a gaming table in that way. When we get there, that stuff is left at the door. And it doesn't matter what we think, we can game together. And that's the point of bringing people together, right? Because that's what we did at the table, bring people together. Old school should be praised for that. Should be praised, in my opinion. Ahead of our time. We did it better then than they do now. Now there is tribalism. Now there are echo chambers. Back in the 80s, 90s, and even 70s, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were right, left, or center. We sat at the table with everybody. I mean, everybody. And I don't even care what I think. I have some personal opinions that would probably put a lot of people off, but I don't bring them to the table. And I don't enforce it at the table either. And I just don't care outside of certain opinions I have. It comes to gaming with anybody. I don't care if you're purple, green, whatever the fuck you think. I don't care. Just show up, respect how the game works, play the game seriously, and we can have fun. That's my only take on the whole thing. And I think everybody from every side is going to find a way to be attracted to this hobby. And you can't really successfully game in your own circles. It's too much tribalism because the second you allow tribalism in a general sense between left and right, here's what happens, Phil, I noticed. Then tribalism starts, once you accept that slope going downhill, it starts in your own communities. So you notice left and right split up, but then you'll notice left starts forming tribes in there, right starts forming tribes in there. Even the center starts forming their own tribes and echo chambers. And what happens? We all separate. When in reality, if you're like me and played a bunch of games, you realize that's the dumbest, most destructive thing you could ever see in the hobby. Nope. Are you playing or running, Bill? It's not a brave thing, Bill, but I've been game mastering so long that maybe I should get that feeling, but I don't. I just don't. I stopped getting nervous, I'd say, like 15, 20 years ago. I haven't been nervous. I go to a table, I'm just like, are you fuckers ready? Not to say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm ready. Yeah. Oh, it's always going to be a little bit of work. You got to manage things. But yeah, for when it comes to gaming, I don't get it's just I don't get nervous at all, man. I don't get nervous. Oh, they want you to run it. Geez, okay, so And is this a planned adventure module? We talking about a module here, kiddo? I don't know. Again, I just don't get nervous. You could wake me up, Steven. Yeah. Can you run the gate? Get me a fucking coffee. Do you have anything planned? Oh, did I say I would? Yeah. Okay, just get me a coffee and shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up and get me a coffee. Bring me a coffee. We're going, baby. Let me check the characters. I mean, I can do it at last minute. I just hate doing it. Like I like to be responsible as a DM now because I think about long-term campaigns, but in reality, you could just chuck me in. Like in reality, I don't even really need it. I don't need books. Like I do prefer dice to a degree, mainly. Maybe something to write on, like something like in a pad, pencil and a pad. But I mean, you can throw me out in a fucking iceberg. You can throw me in the fucking closet. Steven, you got to run a session. Yeah, I can do it. Let's go. Really? Yeah, I could just make it up. I mean, shit, I could even do it without the characters being prepared. Like, just sort of half-assing what you're a fighter. Okay, sure. Whatever. Let's go for it. Let's go. I could do that. It's just I don't like half-assing my way in. But I could and make it a great session. I don't get nervous. And it's not about bragging. I just think I've been doing it's like the ride the bicycle for so long, you lose it. I have a lot of experience, but it's a different feel than their game. I played with them for a year, got starter adventurous in mind because I believe I will have to train player skills. You know, the thing is, what stopped me from being nervous is probably how much I've done it. And I go in with strangers. Like, I won't even know if I have to train player skills. I'd be like, I mean, I've done this where, say, like doing online stuff. Remember first come online, I'm recruiting, and players only talk to me in text, and then we got like 10 minutes to jump in. They hop in. It's like the first time I'm here. Let's go, baby. This is how it's gonna go. Boom. And then I run for 6 hours, and they're like, "Fucking man, you've been running like you've known this forever." I'm like, well, it's ways you manipulate them into it. Remember, you got to control that. And describing actions, Bill. Okay, Bill, I'm gonna let me correct you. Let me tell you a better way to do this. You're the DM. You describe actions outside of they describe what they want to do. If they just want to attack, it's okay. They say they're going to swing. You just tell them what that means. You're swinging at the body. Torso. That's it. That's a basic attack, right? Beyond that, the outcome of attacks, damage. That's you. It's you. Right, that's you. Remember, think about a player describing this and the other players and you listening. I'd ask you, Bill, here's some wisdom from me to you. Players get trained to take in information from who for their imagination? Another player or the game master? Right? Game master. They're prepared to take in what you say and think about it. What's better overall? For a player to describe an outcome where the other players barely take it in because he doesn't have authority? Or is it better for you to describe the outcome of the damage? That's you. As far as what they want to do, if they want to do something outside of swing at the body, these are things like called shots, detailed attacks. Right? You can apply homage, you can do all that, but fair enough. Let them swing at the leg. Right? But the outcome of damage should be you. You. And don't be repetitive, just get on yourself. If you say, oh, right, you cut across the stomach and you're getting ready to say it again, just go, okay, you cut across the chest. Like always, cut across the arm, like it's, and add some things. Like add a little detail. Like you're going to, maybe you cut through the leather or you're stuck in the side. When he gets dashed or cut, say you feel that blood coming out of your skin. It starts going down. You can feel like warm blood just going down onto your leg. There you go. There you go, baby. That's how you do it. And so you describe the outcome of damage, not players. I always thought that was mediocre DMing. Sorry, just my opinion. I'll get the player to do my job for me. No, dude, that's on you to describe the outcome. So stop getting players to do your job for you, Game Master. That's your job. They can tell you what they do, you explain the outcome. It's like if they're crafting something. They can tell you what they want to craft, how they want to craft it, what they want to use, and they roll the dice, and you got to tell them how that comes out. Same thing with damage. You tell them how it comes out. And if you want it to be something, yeah, you're welcome. But if you want it to be something more than, and that way you get them to care, but like they'll actually be interested. Trust me on this. They'll hear you say cuts from the side and the blood comes down. Cool. And they can start picturing in their head. Right? And it's simple. Remember, it's all simple. It's not hard. Just don't, it's not always jab at the side. Not always cut across the stomach, right? Just if you're noticing you're doing it more than once. All right, do something else. Cut across the arm. The little bit of adding you feel the skin get cut open. That stings a bit. All right. The blood dripping down from the arm down to the elbow. You feel that as you're holding your arm up. It's minor stuff. But it is atmosphere and feel producing, right? And you're playing to the imagination. And you'll find that it's not that hard. It's all basic shit. But it's way better. And that way you give them flavor and they'll enjoy it. But I really do. I do get a little antsy when I hear. I heard when it came to WotC D&D, I was like, first time I heard a guy say, player explain the outcome. The fuck? When did the player have that authority? He doesn't. On top of everything else, that is part of your authority as DM. So they can say remember that player agency is their action. They control what their character does. The outcome is your authority. That's game master agency, right? You gotta. I always say separate the two. It's like certain things I don't mind doing to players. It's like a sudden memory flashes in their mind. They're like, well, player agency. Well, no, that's instinctive. You can't control that. Or you feel like you're going to sneeze. Like you got that sneeze coming on. What are you going to do about it? If not, you're going to sneeze. You got no control. It's like an itch comes, right? You feel itchy. You're like, oh man, it's bugging you. It's irritating. I'm the type that will mess with players because it is showing players that there is elements outside of player agency that is instinctive and they have no control over. Just like in real life, there's things you don't have control over. Player agency to me is there's a limit to it. It's what can you control. Now, I don't mind people putting things on themselves. I've had players in the past. Actually, one guy I'm going to interview there Sunday, Samuel G. He talked about it, but I've had other people do it, which is this concept of putting issues on yourself. So since I got him coming on, I'll talk about something me and him talked about at the time, which is having his character be a drug addict, a potential drug addict. And he wanted to come up with a dice roll where the idea is if he makes it, he might not even want to do this as a player, but he wants to force it on himself. Where if it's a failed dice roll, the guy will act a certain way or do the drug. Right? I don't mind when players do that to themselves. I think that's interesting. Hey, it's a challenge you want to put up, but you better be okay with it. And to me, once you apply it and that becomes a real thing, understand it's almost like once you make it into stone and that thing happens in the game, there's some authority I have over that now. And not authority to bother controlling it. I'll let you keep doing the thing, right, to a degree. But you can't just not be a drug addict anymore. Right? You can't establish it and then just go, oh, I don't feel like doing that. Well, it depends. It depends. If I think I can cycle it into the game, I will. Right? But if I think, man, you've established that too much, that's a problem. Okay. Now, so I warn players that ever do that stuff to themselves. Be ready for it. Be ready for it. Be ready. I remember talking to Sam Y7 Tim, and he talked about this story he was telling me where he played. I think it was a goblin character, maybe in third edition, maybe it was like in first edition, maybe it was one of the monster things or second edition. But he played I think a goblin, and he plays a thief. But he plays a thief that can't pick locks. And so as they get to like a locked door, his party's expecting him, like, you're going to pick the locks. He's like, I can't. What the fuck do you mean you can't? I can't pick locks. You fucking kidding us? What are you, a thief? What use are you to us? Well, I'm a petty thief. I don't do locks. I can probably get something out of your pouch. But so I thought that was he was trying to be funny with it. But I don't mind if you put limits on yourself, but you got to deal with the consequences. You got to deal with the consequences. And you got, like I would tell a player like that, you still got to find a way to be effective for the party nonetheless, right? That means you better risk yourself in combat or do something like that if you're going to give yourself sort of some funny limitation, right? And some players I'll trust to do certain things that I won't trust other players to do. So I tell some players, and this is what I would do, Bill, never let players do something outrageous that is extremely challenging to do as a player until they earn it with you. Meaning, don't be afraid to say no. I want to play this. Man, it's really complicated to play. I'm going to have to say no, dude. But why? Because you got to show me you can do that. Like, there's so much nuanced play in that you got to show me that you can play something nuanced. So how about we just start with a basic character and we'll test something out here to see if you can handle it. And if you can bring something unique to a character and I know you can do that, that's something we can do in the future. So that's another thing. Because if not, they'll destroy the game. They'll destroy it for themselves. And it sucks to get something established, like a campaign going, and then somebody brings in a damaging failure like that. Because that can actually hurt a campaign overall. So them to play something unique, it gets established, but then you really find out they can't play it. That can be extremely damaging for an overall campaign. And that can end a campaign. So players might think they're just playing a video game. Remind them that they're not. There's always a bit more to it. So make players earn trust with you. They want to do something unique. Well, let's start out with a basic character. Let's put some unique element to it and show me you can play with it. You can show me that nuance through that. And if I can see it through that later that we could try that thing. Now, if a player shows you they can do something outrageously interesting and keep it grounded, fine. But there's a lot of things that could just so easily blow up a campaign, right? So it's like you got to be careful. So like some players out there can play what you call cocky characters in a way that will not upset the other players. Okay. That's 2% of our player base can do that. And that means the other 98%, if they try it, will play characters that will upset not just the other characters, but the players playing the game with them. And that will swell an experience and probably bring a wrecking ball to your campaign. So you just got to be real with people. Most people can't play certain things because they can't manage it right. And it's not their, remember, the game is not about the individual. It's a team sport. So the guys who can play a cocky character but make it that no one's really mad at them and has a good laugh, they're playing for the group. They're playing to entertain other people. They're playing to get along with people, even if they're being funny. The guys that are going to play cocky characters that are going to upset people, they're playing for their own ego and their own fun, as if the game is all about them. And when the game becomes all about them, it's no longer a team sport. That person has you and the other players all catering only to them. And the second the game turns into catering to one player, that player has to go. right away. Or they have to adjust instantly. Not maybe, instantly. Full time going forward. So it's a team sport. If they want to play solo, they're solo RPGs. They can go play solo all day. If they really want to be cocky and get away with it, they go play MMOs nowadays, right? Let them go do it. Always remember that, Bill. That's a good piece of advice. Make sure the game doesn't focus on one player, and don't you focus on one player either. I gave some good advice recently in my last stream about even if some players are speaking up with more of their characters, say talking NPCs, you still want people to feel like they matter. So that piece of advice where I say at the end, ask players what they were thinking after the social interaction is over, because maybe their characters were quiet. Them getting to speak out loud, the other players who were involved, listening to them, and you get to hear what they think. It makes them feel like what they think, like them overall, they matter to the game. Their thoughts matter. And you don't even have to force them into social interaction. Maybe they just didn't want to say anything to the NPC, but you want to make sure everyone feels like they're involved. So even the guys that come in only once in a while, you might have players that only show up every once in a while. They're not always there with their characters. You can still simply do that, like right after a scene. What do you think? Or maybe in combat, some guys really were very quiet in the combat, but you can ask them, like, regardless, after the fight, how is your character feeling? Like during the fight, like how did it come across to you? How you feeling after the fight? And just ask the player how their character thought. Like just sort of, not so much pause mode just to think about something outside of the game, but sort of like a delay on time, like a pause on time, so the players can talk about how their characters felt about the fight, especially guys that didn't take part, right? And that way, when people feel heard, they feel like they matter. It's a team sport, so that's important. And that way you can do that even with players that only come in once in a while, because they feel like they still matter. Like they are participating even if they're not all there every session, right? So, and because what can happen when you don't do that, if you keep, as a DM, noticing certain players are speaking up, you could start accidentally leaning on them. And that's sort of like accidental favoritism. And you don't want to play favorites in a game. It's a team sport. So to make sure other people matter, it doesn't mean they all have to speak in a social interaction scene. That's not the requirement. But asking players what they thought about the social interaction and letting them speak on it is important to the group, because now everyone gets to hear how the other players think. It's important. It's valuable communication. Extremely valuable to the long-term success of the game. Because the more each player learns about each other, the better they can play the game together. It's like, oh, I didn't know he was taking it in that way. That's interesting. And that's a way for not just the characters to get to know each other, which that does happen. It's a way for players to get to know each other. It's one thing for you to understand your players. It's also valuable for players to understand each other and the other players, just so they can know how that guy's thinking, right? Because it can even evolve how they communicate to each other. Because if you're like, every time I've told that player this to his character, sometimes he doesn't get it, but then he hears what the player thinks. He's like, oh, that's the way he's taking me in. So the next time he talks to him in character, he says things in a more simplistic way or something like that. Not as an insult, but more in a direct way where he's like, he'll start trusting that guy now gets what he's saying, because he's learned about the other player in the process of doing that. So that's extremely valuable to take that bit of time and let players air out what they think. They feel like they're involved. They learn from each other. And to me, it's still part of the gaming process. You're not really out talking about the gas station trip. You're still focused on the characters in the game. So that pause, to me, doesn't feel like it hurts the game at all. And for future sessions, it's extremely valuable, because the more that is talked in that way, the less you got to do it going forward to a degree. Like, you don't get to do that all the time, but it's valuable to do it every so often. Make sure people are being heard about what they think. Right? Because sometimes you might just have it after they get clear communication, after two of the guys who are talking to the NPCs might turn around right to the group right afterwards. Okay, guys, what do you think? And they just talk to the characters. The next thing you know, the group is just talking. And you don't have to sit there and stop and ask what the players think. It is properly being aired out because they've all learned about that. And now the players that talk more care. So did I get that right, guys? You know what I mean? Like that player might come up with their character. Like, did I get that right? Are we good with that? And the other characters start talking, right? I hear that. I hear that. I get all kinds of things going on, so I keep checking certain things. And about, I'd say 20 minutes or so, I'll start the coverage of the second edition monsters. Now, it's going to be the fluff background, right? And talk about the artist, because I want to show some art, but I want you guys to know who the artist is, so I don't feel like I'm showing the art and not really communicating who these people are. And that way we can talk about a bit about that stuff. And then after the fluff, it's not going to be like a normal rundowns. It's me going to be telling you basically what it says in the monster manual about the monsters. And then we're going to talk about them. Just have fun. I picked 5. The one I will tell you I'm going to cover up front is the Roper. Because it's one AJ, I had that AJ Pickett on, a good friend here of the channel. We did the interview recently. He's been chatting a bit in the chat for some of the streams. He's a big fan of the Roper, and he kept going on. And I had not covered it recently, so I said, you know what? Why not? He's mentioned enough times. You guys have heard of the Roper. Let's talk about the Roper. Interesting monster. And I won't tell you about the rest. Good. But yeah, all in the future is going to be, again, Sunday is Sam Olchi. I have another game designer. I really don't want to mention the name. I'm hoping to hear back from him soon. I really am. I don't know when I'm going to hear back from the guy or if it's going to be anytime soon. But I mean, he did check in. Initially, he said he would. When we got down to what day it would be, he gave me an idea. He checked the time, but he has not got back to me with an exact day that we are going to do the interview. Now, I want to wait till I hear back about the exact day. So initially, he said yes, he'd do the interview. It was yes, but there'd be a delay. It'd be after October 5th. Or August 5th. What am I saying? October 5th. August 5th. The guy's a bit of a legend. Game designer. I would love for him to come on and have a talk with us. I say us because it's all part of this, right? Yes, I love the interviews. They're quite interesting. And I love to do research on guys and really get their background, know who they are, and share as much as I can about who they are with you. Right? And then let them be weird. Let them pitch your products. Let them do whatever. I don't care. To me, it's all part of sort of like advertising who they are. Right? It's a big pitch. I'm not a journalist, so I don't do gotcha questions or anything like that. It's all about having fun. Hoot. What's up, my friend? Hey, Post. Yes, I am live right now. I see you posting on the group. I thought you might know. I wasn't sure. But yeah, about 14 minutes here, I'm going to cover some monsters for 2nd edition. Yeah, I'm doing good, my friend. Here's a lively new young guy who's part of the chat and part of the group, and he joined up to the server. I fucking love him. Post P.W. Malone. Great, fun, energetic young man. I say young man, I'm going to assume. How you doing, Post? Yeah. Enjoy this. You chat as much as you want. If not, you can just sit back and listen. Whatever you want to do. Now, I'm not starting this for another like 14 minutes, but I'm going to have one more of these. I chain smoke a bit when I do these things. All right. Just a bit of chain smoking when I do these things. But yeah, it's I call it my Joe Rogan time. Casual before we hit the topic. It shocks people that I interview. Because I can interview people for, I remember Max like 4 hours. I interviewed him and he's like, hey, you just interviewed me for 4 hours afterwards. And he's like, you didn't have a smoke. I'm like, no, I'm good. Oh, Canadian classics mainly. Canadian classics. Personal brand down here in Canada. Old school white tip brand. I don't like some of the more, like I don't like Export A if I'm too strong. I like light. I used to smoke weed, but then I quit like around, I think around like the 10th of March or something like that. I quit smoking weed. I haven't smoked a single joint since. Don't plan to. We don't plan to go back. But I did enjoy many years of puffing, right? But I had to give it up. It just wasn't. It's not good for life, right? It's draining in other areas where it's unnecessary. And yeah, you got to be real with yourself. I mean, I can mostly get it for almost no cost, right? But I just said, all right, got to straighten out my head. Got to get rid of that stuff. But yeah, that's it. And the only time I don't drink, I don't count myself as a drinker, but on May 3rd, as the guy seen here on my birthday stream, I drink Gibson's Finest whiskey. I don't like beer. Well, I do like beer, but I'm not a big fan. So I drank some whiskey. I get a buzz. I didn't get loaded. I'm surprised because I was drinking. I was purposely trying to sort of get drunk on the street. It was almost like intentional. Like I'm just like, I even drank like 2 drinks before I started it. They're like, I come in with a buzz. Like the buzz just maintained the whole time. But I was like that when I was younger too. I'm not one of those people that get like loaded. It's like I have a bit of an immunity, but I don't know. I could drink a lot more, I guess. But I don't drink. Like even though I've been drinking in 5 years, I'm one of these guys that can just. I drank that night. Most I had is a buzz, and in the last 2 hours before I went to sleep, buzz was gone. It was still semi there, but I mean it was mostly gone. So I went through that like breathing air, and just never got much from it. And it's not weak stuff. I picked it on purpose just because it's has a bit of a kick you in the fucking ass type of thing, right? But I'm one of those guys. People told me like years past, like, "Oh, Steve, you're a fun drunk." I was like, "Well, let's see." Yeah, that gotta suck. The Gibson whiskey stuff. I don't know. It's not like I check out the drama or background as to what other people are doing. So I went to the whiskey shop and I went over the whiskey. I just asked the guy who was running the place. I was like, just give me some advice here, dude. Yeah, it is. Same thing with the weed stuff too. Like if you want to keep buying it, it could, when you're not wealthy, man, that can strip a lot of your pay away. Like just to keep getting it. I mean, unless you can smoke cheap stuff. But if you start wanting quality stuff, it's like, dude. It's like, dude. I mean, like, look. Let's see. Depending on if you get it through medical, it's a little cheaper because you can get it through medical here. But if you're buying it, a week worth for a common smoker, I mean, it can run you $160, $180. That's a week. Add that up 4 weeks a month. If you're someone who smokes it daily, which is what most people do. Like there's not too many people in this world that casually smoke weed. 99% that I know Smoke it daily. Right, smoke it daily. Oh, we got some Texas boys. I got Texas guys here. I got Norway guys here. But yeah, let's. You don't got to give the address there, post. But what part of Texas you in there? Corpus Christi, baby. I love fucking Texas. I have a relative up there. Oh, gee, San Antonio, baby. That's what we're talking about. San Antonio. Fucking love it. I love Southern Comfort. Oh, yes. Geez. Yeah. I'm not a drinker, Bill, but I'm just saying back in the day, fucking love Southern Comfort, baby. Love Southern Comfort. Mention all kinds of fucking beautiful places. Maryland, San Antonio, Corpus Christi. Yeah, it's not so much like hot here right now, but it's hot. Like it's here. It's 20. I don't know what that is in your guys' because it's 20 Celsius. Pretty hot for me. It's not like it's like not 30 or something, right? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You got to watch how smooth that is because you can down that. Southern Comfort screwed me up a few times in the past. I like the Crown Royal, the Southern Comfort, the Gibson. I love whiskey. Oh, sweet deal. Gamers unite, baby. Gamers unite. And Post is a great guy there, Bill. You'll like him. He appreciates old school stuff too. You just tell, man. You start telling him about old school stuff. He's like, he doesn't go, that sounds boring. He's like, I was born the wrong time, is what he was telling me. you could feel it when you talk to the guy, right? I'll give you that, Post. That's compliments from old school. Definitely a guy who's definitely interested in the way we did things. Definitely interested. Yep, he is. He is. Bag, BAG, or I don't know. He's the B guy. The B guy. The B guy. Yeah, Bill's a great guy. Bill's a fucking fantastic guy. A Mystera guy. True old school. It's a quality thing, but Bill is old school like me. Pure old school, Post. Bill's the real deal. Like the real deal timeline. Probably me and him love Mystera, but we like it because Mystera is what I would call the gamer's game setting, right? Yeah. I think I direct you pretty good with that whole thing. It gives you links where you can go and you can just read. It's not hard. And it's not meant to be hard. Remember, it's old school, dude. Character creation isn't to blow your hit away. It's not meant to be difficult. So you could think, oh man, boom, but you just got to think it's not WotC. It is old school D&D, and old school D&D is even second edition is very simplistic. Yeah, that's the name. That's the name. Yeah, I don't do multi-class. So read the host rule thing. There is links to the host rule thing, so you could go through that. It's only a page of shit, dude. Go through it. It is. Look, think about it. You're making a character for a long-term campaign. So when I say long-term, I'm not talking 20 sessions, right? Like we're talking old school long-term here, like 100 sessions, maybe more, potentially. So when you make a character, even though it's simple, just think about what you're committing to. Right? Think about what you're committing to. So take time. It's a very survivable. It's not like a meat grinder game. So take it serious. Oh yeah, Bill will hook you up big time. Big time. Big time. I love connecting people. Yes, no, really. Gamers unite, baby. So, in about a few minutes here, I'm going to start the coverage. All right, all right. I have, but we're going into it. All right. So remember, this first rundown is just fluff. Just a backstory with the second edition monster manual and talk about the artists and stuff like that. And then we're going to go into some monsters. 5 I've chosen. Going to cover the Roper tonight because, well, Bill has heard of it, guaranteed. I know of it. I don't do certain things. I sandbox, but I know of it. Yes, okay. AD&D second edition monstrous manual, influence and birth. Standing on the shoulders of the original monster manual, the second edition monster manual didn't appear out of nowhere. Its foundations was the AD&D monster manual from 1977, one of the first dedicated bestiaries ever published for a role-playing game, bestiaries. That book established many conventions the hobby still follows today. An alphabetical monster reference, standardized stat blocks, descriptions of behavior alongside combat abilities, a mixture of mythology, folklore, literature, and original TSR creations. By the time AD&D second edition arrived, TSR wasn't asking, how do we make another monster manual? Instead, they were asking, how do we create a monster library that can grow forever? That question led to one of the most ambitious publishing experiments in RPG history. That experiment, the Monstrous Compendium. When AD&D second edition launched in 1989, there was no hardcover monster manual. Instead, TSR introduced the Monstrous Compendium. Rather than binding monsters into a single book, every creature appeared on loose leaf, 3 holes, punched pages stored in binders. The idea was revolutionary. Dungeon masters could insert new monsters alphabetically, remove pages needed for tonight's adventure, expand their monster collection indefinitely, mix creatures from every campaign setting in one organized library. Unlike previous editions, your monster collection wasn't meant to end. It was designed to evolve alongside the game. TSR's explosion of campaign worlds. The binder system wasn't created in isolation. It reflected what TSR had become during the late 1980s. AD&D was no longer one of the fantasy worlds, or was no longer one fantasy world. Players could now adventure in Forgotten Realms, Mysteria, Dragonlance, Greyhawk, Ravenloft, Spelljammer, Dark Sun, Kara-Tor, Al-Qaeda, or Al-Qadim, and Birthright came soon after. No express. Every one of these settings introduced dozens of unique monsters. Instead of releasing entirely new monster manuals, TSR envisioned each setting simply adding new pages to your growing collection. The Monstrous Compendium was as much a publishing solution as it was a game supplement. A brilliant idea that didn't quite work on paper. The binder system solved a genuine problem. In practice, it introduced several new ones. Dungeon masters quickly discovered that frequently used pages became worn. 3 holes, punched, torn over time. Individual monster sheets went missing. Large collections became difficult to organize. Flipping through loose pages during a session was often slower than using a traditional book. The problem wasn't simply that players preferred hardcover books. The binder itself proved impractical for something that saw constant use at the gaming table. Even so, TSR didn't abandon the idea overnight. The Monstrous Compendium appendices continued to support campaign settings, while TSR looked for a better solution for the core monster collection. The birth of the second edition monster manual. TSR returned to a format players already trusted. Rather than creating an entirely new bestiary, TSR gathered material from the first monstrous compendium volumes. Numerous revised monster entries, selected monsters from several compendium appendices, updated rules, brand new full color artwork. The result became the primary hardcover monster reference for AD&D Second Edition. Meanwhile, the setting-specific compendium appendices continued to expand the game's many campaign worlds. Monsters became part of the world. The Monster Manual reflected one of AD&D Second Edition's biggest design philosophies. Monsters should feel like living creatures instead of a random encounter or random encounters. Earlier editions had certainly discussed monster ecology, especially in Gary Gygax's later writings. But Second Edition made these ideas a consistent part of nearly every entry. Monster descriptions increasingly explored habitat, society, we're going to go over some of the stuff, diet, reproduction, intelligence, culture, relationships with other creatures, typical behavior. Instead of asking, how do we defeat this monster, the book increasingly asked, how does this creature fit into the world? That shift helped encourage more immersive world building and role playing. The artwork that defined a generation. One of the biggest reasons the Monstrous Manual became legendary wasn't just its content, it was its artwork. The cover painting was created by Jeff Easley, whose dramatic fantasy paintings had already become closely associated with AD&D throughout the 1980s. His covers helped establish the visual identity of TSR during that era. Inside the book, one of the artists stood out above all others, Tony Dieter Lizzie. Tony Dieter Lizzie, that's the way I'm going to say his name. Project coordinator Tim Beach recognized Tony's talent early and assigned him around 100 monster illustrations, an enormous portion of the book. Beach wanted these illustrations. This is Tim Beach. Tim Beach wanted these illustrations to become the definitive visual interpretations of many of the classic AD&D monsters. Tony approached monsters differently than many fantasy artists. And so almost every monster we're going to look at tonight, the art is from this Tony character, right? Rather than making every creature simply look frightening, he emphasized personality, curiosity, intelligence, weirdness, a sense of history and age. His work made monsters feel like living beings instead of generic enemies. Many fans still associate creatures such as beholders, mind flayers, gifts, displacer beasts, umberhulks with the second edition appearance. The Monsters Manual also featured outstanding work from other TSR artists, including Jeff Butler, Dave Simons, Tom Baxa, Mark Nelson, Les Dorsheed, whose color work helped unify the book's visual style. Together, these artists gave the Monsters Manual a remarkably consistent look, something the earlier Monster Compendium binders assembled over multiple products never fully achieved. A reflection of AD&D Second Edition, the Monster Manual also embodied the overall direction of AD&D Second Edition. Compared to much of the late First Edition, there was a greater emphasis on character development, campaign settings, monster ecology, intelligent adversaries, role-playing encounters, building believable fantasy worlds. Monsters weren't simply bags of hit points waiting to be defeated. They became kingdoms, tribes, predators, religious orders, political powers, and reoccurring characters within a living world. Its lasting legacy. The Monsters Manual proved something important about RPG publishing. The Monsters Compendium had been an ambitious attempt to create an expandable monster library, but after several years of real-world use, TSR and its players rediscovered the strengths of a well-made hardcover reference. The success of the Monster Manual effectively reestablished the hardcover books as the standard format for Dungeons & Dragons. Every major edition that followed, 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 5th edition, returned to that model. In that sense, the Monsters Manual wasn't simply a successful monster book. It marked the end of TSR's most ambitious publishing experiment and helped define what modern RPG monster manuals should be. That's like getting stuff out of the way. I want to make sure I mention artists. I don't want to half-ass it. it be wrong and something I'm totally opposed to doing. Okay. I usually keep this up, but for now, we're going to have to do this. This is the roper. Meet the roper. All right, the roper. Alignment, chaotic evil. Highly intelligent. Description. The creature's hide is yellowish gray and rough. They are usually pillar-like in shape and 9 feet tall. The roper has a single yellow eye and sharp teeth. Let's talk about combat. Oh, yeah. Combat. It can stand upright, roll into a boulder shape, or flatten itself to look like a stone floor area. Ropers attack by shooting strong, sticky strands at opponents like tentacles. Each can reach 10 feet and pull up to 750 pounds if they stick onto you. If a roper's prey cannot break free, it is pulled 10 feet closer per round. When it reaches the roper, the creature bites the victim for 5d4 points of damage. Automatic hits against the victim held by a strand. So it's like automatic boom. If it catches you, you're in bad territory. A strand can be pulled off or broken by a character who makes a successful open doors roll. Be like, breaking it with your strength. A strand can also be cut. It is AC 0 and take at least 6 points of damage from a single hit on an edge weapon to be severed. So it takes up to six damage before you can just cut it off. Ropers are unaffected by lightning and take only half damage from cold-based attacks. They are very weak versus fire attacks. So basically this thing, oh yeah. So this thing is tricky. Remember, this is old school. This is old school pain in the ass monster type of stuff, right? So it's going to be very sneaky. We'll talk a bit about that more, but just say what it does is it can roll up and look like a boulder, right? See what you think it's a big rock, or it can literally flatten out, so it just looks like the floor hit you. Like walking up, you walk maybe even potentially over it and past it. Next thing you know, it comes up, and it grabs onto you with one of these. And if you fail to resist that thing, you're getting pulled, and it can pull 750 pounds. How many hit dice? This one hit dice is 10 to 12. Beautiful. A lot. Now you know. 10 to 12. So basically, once it sticks, you can drag you, and there's no defense, man. You get stuck to this thing if you don't cut yourself free. So remember what it's going to give you a chance. So it latches onto you. So at that point, as a player character, your character has a chance to rip it off. That's a strength check type of bend, like to open doors, or cut it off, and it can take up to 6 points damage. If you fail, it's dragged you to it. Automatic bite. It doesn't have to roll dice. You just taking the damage, baby. And it's 5d4, so that's a lot of damage coming your way. A lot. And if you happen to have lightning or cold attacks, likely you're not putting this thing away. Lightning, it's going to be immune to. Cold-based attacks, it only takes half of any type of damage from it. You want fire against this thing. It is going to be not happy about fire at all. So it can be very dangerous and tricky just because it can seem like the floor. And how are you supposed to know? If I say it just looked like floor hit you, I mean, you'd have to scan the floor and know for me to tell you that it looks odd. If I say there's a big rock there, well, now it's up to you as a player because remember, old school, there's no perception check. Right? I could tell you there's something there, but you really need to put the work in to check things. You need to say it. You need to say, I'm going to look at the rock. So perception in old school is you. Get it? Like when you focus, then I can give you a chosen dice roll. Then I can consider if I just want to tell you that you figure it out, right? But there is no like, man, I'm just walking, looking ahead, make a perception check. Oh, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. Oh, I noticed how convenient that is. It's not how this game works, right? Old school is, I'm just walking ahead. All right. Well, basically, it's assumed. It's like when you say you attack the torso. When you say you're just walking ahead, there's an assumption that comes along with what you're saying. You're looking straight. Like basically, it's on the player to say details. I walk along. It's like if you're walking ahead, you're gonna say, "I'm looking up at the ceiling, I'm checking around me." Now, if you mention stuff like this to the DM, your details and your actions, then the DM is going to say, "Okay." They'll use something like an intelligence check, right, as some type of perception, but it takes you to announce your action. So think about like your words as the controller for your character. You just move forward, you move forward. If you want your character to do this or this, or even have a chance to perceive something, well, for you to perceive something, first you got to look. If I say that you just see a rock and you say, "Oh, okay," like now it's up to you to react to that. Do you check it out? Do you pay attention? If you say you're looking for it, I say, "Well, it looks like a 4 ahead of you, but one spot looks a little odd, like different color." Well, I can tell you that, but then it's on you to take that hint or that clue that something is up and look further into it, because that's a clue. Well, it's not like the rest of the floor, but it's just like flat floor, but it's a bit of a different color. Is it? So it's what do you do? Well, I just keep walking. Well, if you say you keep walking, okay. That's it. Do I get a perception check? No. That was your perception, man. How do you react to it? Like, and so in old school, really, it's on player skill to play right. It's on the player to pay attention to what's happening. Right? It's really, really important. Okay, society. Ropers don't usually work together. In the rare case that they do, they are called a cluster. They reproduce by they're asexual by shedding some of their material into a seed. So when they reproduce, it's like they shed so much of themselves to create sort of like a seed, like another potential rock type of shape, right? It will appear as a rock or in boulder form, and it takes the roper 2 to 8 weeks to mature from that shape. Ecology. Ropers eat meat and prefer human and demi-humans over other options. So they do eat meat and they do prefer people. Now, there is the stow roper, or STOROPER, like a stow roper. This is a different type of roper. This type of roper appears as a statue of the normal roper monster, like a big stone statue. Their tentacles stretch out to 20 feet, unlike the other one that only has 10 feet. They can poison those caught in their tentacles, and they prefer to only attack 2 people at a time, 3 tentacles aimed at each. They have a hard body, which makes them well defended against arrows and other missile types of attacks. So these ones are more rock-like period. And if you start shooting arrows at them, it's like bing, bing. Like you're not going to be doing much to them. Their tentacles reach much further, right? So they can latch onto you, but they can also poison you. They're called a store roper. So there's a roper and the store roper. I mean, they're fun to catch players off guard with. There's very rare times that they'll actually do what they call a cluster, and they're very sneaky, obviously, right? They usually don't just come out and stand at 9 feet and try to get you. They're usually going to go into the boulder form or that flat form, or if they can hide even better, like just out of sight while you're going by, they'll hide out of sight and they'll attack you. You are meat to them, right? You are meat. You are a meal. I mean, you can always bring a henchman and just go like, okay, like if a henchman gets killed, you can almost like carry his body around if they run into one. Like, here, have it, and it might actually go at the thing and leave you alone. Or as they say, you don't always have to outrun the monster. You just have to outrun your friend. But yes, ropers are very dangerous and very powerful enemies, and you definitely don't want to see one early. And if you see one early, man, you want to get out of there. They want to eat you, and they are dangerous as can be. And it's old school. If you're not paying attention, you'll learn. Old school is all about making you better as a player. Like a gelatinous cube gimmick is just, okay, you say you're walking forward. Well, if you don't say you're looking for something, you don't look for something. You just like, boom. Or if I tell you something vague about something, what do you, I come up, can I try to grab the sword out? Sure. Well, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that can happen. There's a chance they can pull you down. Yeah, 100%. Right now, is there rules and like it's there could be follow rules, but like old school DMs are the type use common sense. So if you come up with a tricky way, a monster might try to grasp something and the book doesn't explain. Just use the type of follow rules. Decide how you want to drag them down. You might even decide, well, only so much damage happens to you if you do get dragged down here, but then the thing will bite you anyway. And what are you falling into? So everything varies. Old school depends less on trying to explain everything to the DM and leaves them with a lot of common sense things to use, and then leaves them to their common sense. So if they give you an idea like falling down this far can be this much damage, well, it just leaves for you to make a judgment. Oh, Bill, you want to know what, Bill? There is none, and there's a reason. Because old school D&D believes player skill is learned from experience. That's it. It's just a principle of the game. And it is a principle of the game. So it's like teaching new players. This is part of it. It's like I believe in this too. A lot of games had this, like Bushido. Bushido is more, say, socializing and reputation. So it's a lot less about combat and dying, right? So in Bushido, the game can be so damaged from you just from socializing the wrong way that your character doesn't even need to be dead. You're going to be so sort of screwed up in that process. The game is over for you while your character's still alive, right? Bushido, a lot of old school games are like this. Bushido says there's no pressure on the player to have to learn 50 things before playing. And I sort of like that because it does say to guys like posts that might be coming into old school, dude, you don't got to read a novel to get into the game. That's good, right? And you want a pretty quick process to get into the game. What the game says, you don't read, you learn from just doing things. So when you start playing Bushido, okay, you're playing a lower class character. You go up and talk to a noble. Hey, you talk to them in a certain way. They're arresting you. What? Why are the guards arresting me? You don't talk to a noble that way. You're in old school, sort of like a medieval Eastern Japan. You're a peasant. You do not talk to a noble that way. That is like against the law. You don't speak that way. You don't speak with aggression. You speak a certain way, and there are social rules where you can get in trouble. You speak a certain way, you might get cut off from jobs. It can be destructive to your reputation. But the game doesn't say you got to learn this before you start playing. It just says to the game master, don't tell your players this at all. It even advises you to not inform players. That the ignorance is completely acceptable. You're like, why? Because the game has enough consequences, and that's the idea with D&D. The game has enough consequences that the player's going to learn. So when you go through and suddenly this thing drags you in and kills you, you learn one thing. Next time I go through, I'm fucking looking down. right? That's the idea. It's like a mimic with a treasure chest. You're like, I'm going to open the treasure and it bites you like pieces or something. Okay, you'll never do that again the same way, will you? Now you'll be like, hold up. Stay away from that. Some new player with you, like, no. Hold up, dude. We don't touch that right away. What? That could eat us. Well, it's just a chest, dude. Oh, fuck, you don't know, do you? It's like, you don't know, do you? Right? It's great because this really does, in a weird way, it does teach players because, I mean, are you going to forget? I could tell you something and you might forget during the game and you make a mistake. But if you go into the game and your character gets killed that way, will you so easily forget the next time? No, you won't, baby. That will stick in your head like a sore thumb. I will have no worries on you forgetting. You will remember. Yeah, last time we went around, this got fucking eaten, right? And Bushido's the same way. It's socializing. It's a bit different. It's not the action based on D&D, but it does the same gimmick. Like, you talk the wrong way. All right, fuck, geez, why am I in jail? Yeah, I opened my mouth. God. Should have opened my mouth that way. Now you learn. And so when it comes to new players, it's not that the game wants to be a meat grinder. What are you trying to learn in D&D? What should you be learning? Some things I guess you could tell the players, like from levels 1 to 2, going up to level 3, they should avoid all combat. And you could tell them one simple thing. One simple thing I tell players. It just doesn't work. Experience has to be it. But I tell them, what's D&D about? They'll be like, well, you go in and like fight monsters? And like, no, it's a survival game. Just think about that, what that means. It's a survival game. That means the intent is not to go in and fight monsters. The intent is to survive. If you likely die fighting monsters early on, what do? Avoid fight, get the gold, get the fuck out. And yes, you might get into some fights. Kill the leaders. Be smart when you're forced into them. Negotiate your way out. And negotiation isn't always talking either. It could be like you have the thing like certain food. Dude, we'll give you this. Will you leave us alone? It fucks off and leaves you alone. That works. But yeah, the game purposely puts monsters in there to teach. And it is through experience that you teach. That's why they say you learn through experience. It'd be nice, but I think, Bill, even if you put a book together to explain all this shit, most players wouldn't read it in full. And most of what they would take in, they'd forget anyway. And you'd still find at the end of the day, the best way to learn is by doing. And what do they do with a lot of games now? Especially survival games, video games I'm talking about. What do? Most of them don't explain shit to you. Most of them don't care either. Like, they'll remind you of D&D. Like, most don't care at all. If I said, okay, say neither one of you played Rust. I said, let's go play Rust tomorrow. Well, other than like finding what other players say, do you think like they're going to walk you through Rust and how to play? No. You get in there and you're going to die a lot before you realize what you're doing. Right? And that's, in a way, that's old school D&D. Okay. First monster down. All right, let's go with the next monster. Let you guys have a peek at this. There we go. The Germain Gremlin. What am I saying? Alignment, neutral evil. Basic intelligence to almost genius. It varies. Now, the rope, or usually one appears, but I told you they usually don't work together. When they do show up together, it can be in clusters. With Germain gremlins, you can encounter 12 to 48, right? Could potentially appear. Description: they are diminutive humanoid race. They are a diminutive humanoid race that dwells in tunnels and ambushes helpless adventurers. They are known by a variety of names such as Jinkskin and Bane Midges. Really weird. Germain appeared to be tiny humans dressed in baggy clothing and leather helmets. In fact, the clothing is their own saggy skin and pointed heads. The limbs are knottily muscled. The fingernails and toenails are thick and filthy. Although the fingers and toes are very nimble, they're gray. But regardless, I'm going to say, I should have said this, but either way, they're very nimble. Their gray-brown warty hide blends in with natural earth and stone. Blah, blah. Okay, so these guys are not big at all. Combat. Germain are cowards who have made an art of the ambush. They only attack when they feel there is no serious opposition. They prefer to attack injured, ill, or sleeping victims. They avoid directly confronting strong, alert parties. Although they may try to injure them out of sheer maliciousness, Germain possess weak eyes and infrasion that only extends for 30 yards. But their keen smell and hearing enable them to detect even invisible creatures 50% of the time. Germain moves silently and quickly. They have a 75% chance to avoid detection, even if listened or watched for. So even if you're saying, I'm listening for trouble or watching for it, they have a 75% chance of avoiding detection. Even when you're making the effort to find them, right? That's how sneaky they are. That's how good they are at hiding and not being seen. Germain typically arm themselves with needle-sharp darts. They can hurl these 120 yards for 1 to 2 damage. They also carry a miniature pike. These 1-foot-long sticks with sharp tips inflict 1d4 points of damage. If the Germain are out to capture a victim, they are also armed with blackjacks. The Germain favorite tactic is capturing victims with nets or pits. In little used passages, the creatures prepare pits covered by camp. So basically, in passages where most people aren't going through, they'll prepare. Prepare kits covered by camouflage doors or string nets overhead. In more travel passages, the Germain stretch trip cords. When victims fall afoul of a trap, the Germain swarm over them. Some pummel them with blackjacks, while others tie the person up with ropes and cords. Such beatings have a 2% chance per blow of causing the victim to lapse into unconsciousness. If a victim is wearing splint, bandit, or plate mail, these pummeling attacks are ineffective. Knowing this, the Germain attack well-armored victims with acid or flaming oil missiles. So if you're wearing heavy armor, expect some more stuff to be coming at you than just blackjacks. So this one, the acid and the basically flaming oil missiles will come flying at you. Slain victims and 5% of the subdued victims are later devoured by Germain and their rats. Most captives are robbed, stripped, shaved, totally hairless, and left in a passageway. If an unsuspecting victim pauses near a lurking band of Germain, they dart out and cut straps, belts, packs, and pouches. Each Germain in the band makes one such attack before fleeing back into the shadows. Such attacks are usually not noticed till 1d12 turns later, when slashed items begin to fall apart. They also try to steal or damage possessions. They can be joined by rats, and in some cases, giant rats. So basically, when they'll fuck with you. they can either come and try to capture you, but they might try to take your gear down first. So they might first come out, just flash, cut your poach up, cut your gear up, right? And if you do drop some of the gear, they're going to steal some of that to begin with, right? Oh, Bill, for sure. For sure. But you want to know what? Here's the worst thing, Bill. My advice, this is my real advice. Don't baby players. It's not that most don't have any skill or creativity. It's just a lot. Like, look, it's in some cases that's true, but a lot are lazy, mentally lazy. This is the actual truth. I'm going to be real with you. Something you're going to discover, Bill. If a player can get by half-assing, they will. If a player keeps hitting a wall half-assing, they'll make their best effort to adjust because they want to be able to play. And it sucks that it might suck to have to, I guess, to put them through that. But when you reward half-assed efforts, you continue to get it, and you'll make the player feel justified to not make a better effort. That's the crappy part about that. That's the reality. That's the reality of, just say a player half-asses, but he gets by. Your chance of improving is just dropped. Say a game master has not done that well, but the players never confront him. It's a little thing outside of the box, but there's no pressure to. That's the consequences, is pressure. Like, just say every time a player is not thinking, most of the time they're suffering, they're missing out. I mean, like, so often that it can't be avoided and they can't just slide by. Like, just say they're half-assing, so they're never getting the treasure. They're half-assing, so any success they would have had is not there. And they have a choice. Either improve or quit. And that's where you got to get to with some players. Improve by effort or quit. Because potentially players can play better. Potentially players can try even if they're not super skilled or creative. And that effort shows that they have something. And what you do is, when you finally get players making that effort, you reward it. That's another thing you want to notice, Bill. When players are showing you this stuff, don't just let it so easily go by. Tell players you appreciate the creativity. That was really close. Give them the extra opportunity. Push towards your best effort to reward the type of effort that you want from players. And let other players see the rewards they're getting. And then don't allow mediocre behavior to be able to sit on a throne beside the player that's being creative or trying. So that's what you got to be careful of, right? The guy making the effort, there's a throne seat for him. The guy who half-asses and is mediocre and making no effort, if that gets rewarded, guess what? You're allowing him, playing as terrible as he is, which will harm the future of the game and everything, and what you can do as a DM with him. But you're going to allow him to falsely sit on the throne beside the guy making the effort. Now he's put on par with him. So you don't reward people that are trying. You reward people that are. Let failure hit. And you want to know what? Let it be noticed. If the group fails, but it's not really the group, an individual, don't let that go by. Like, the group is doing good, but you missed it. Put social pressure on players. Don't let them go, yeah, we as a group fucked up. No, John, you fucked up. You guys are all playing great. You gotta. You gotta. And that's, look, Bill, here's the truth. Players will either adjust and try harder. And when they do, you reward it. Effort doesn't always have to mean they're coming up with the best ideas. Effort doesn't always have to mean, Bill, that the guy is actually super creative. Right? Right? It's sometimes they're just not naturally that. But as a DM, the most you can ask for, the most you want, is the effort to try. Right? That's the most satisfying thing you can get, is when you know a guy, like, it, because you see he's not that fucking skilled or creative. But you want to know what, man? That guy steps in, he tries. Doesn't come up with the best ideas, but fuck, he's trying. I want to reward that. I want that guy to know that that's what I want from him. And I don't need him to be a genius. Remember, it's you're not there to be concerned with if they succeed or fail. You like them to succeed, but that's not your job. You're just game master. You want effort and good gameplay. I want players that sit up and try. If they make mistakes, that's on them. That's consequence the game will bring to them. But I want the effort to be rewarded. I want like I notice the guy giving me things. I'll be like, "Hey, dude, you're trying. Okay, why don't you give me an intelligence check?" And maybe I'll give him something his character has noticed that can improve his bad idea to become something else. Like, I'll start working with the guy making the effort. And I don't feel guilty about that. That's the guy making the effort. Holy fuck, I want the effort. Baby, I want the effort. Right? I want to reward the effort. I don't want to downplay the effort. I don't expect you to be a genius. I don't think you have to be a genius to play these games, because I don't think it's my job as a DM to be concerned if you fail or succeed. My job is just that you play and play the best you can. That's it. Right? I'll be happy when you succeed, but if you fail, it's part of the game. But I want to do my best to reward that. And when guys make no effort, no intelligence check, no save, pressure on them not to blame the group, but blame the individual who did the stupid thing. Like, all the negative should go towards the guy not trying. That's it. So I would separate yourself there, Bill, and just say your job is not for them to succeed. Your job is just to get them to play as best they can. That's it. That's it. It's their job, not yours, to succeed. And so success doesn't always mean they're playing poorly, right? In the way that you think. It's because playing well to me is not coming up with the best idea. It's the effort to succeed is playing well. The paying attention, the effort. I mean, I'm being very super real with you here. That's something I've learned from my wisdom over the years. Very important. Okay. So these guys can come out of nowhere. They can try to, they'll want food. They love all kinds of different food. We'll talk about that in a second, but you can definitely talk to these guys that are attacking you by giving you food. They'll want to capture you. They'll want to throw nets in that and like bang you out. They'll be careful. They'll come out. If you have certain types of armor and that, usually they'll just avoid you. But if they do come out and take the chance because they're starving or hungry, acid fire if you're wearing like, heavy metal armor. But they do want to knock you out. That's the main thing. That's a big focus on them. And they can get help. They work with rats, which will sort of have as pets. And sometimes they can attract giant rats. Society. They are a distant cousin of gnomes. They never live right where you encounter them. They live in smaller dirt caves or burrows near their hunting ground. Their diet is a mixture of insects, fresh meat, carrion, fungi, and mold. Humanoids are a delicacy reserved for special occasions. Lizards form the bulk of the meat intake. These type of gremlins cherish foods from the surface, even the hardtack and iron rations carried by adventurers. Characters can use food to sway these creatures into leaving them alone. So that's one of the ways you can negotiate your way out of them attacking you. Ecology. Ironically, because they scavenge so much, they can end up cleaning up the areas that they do this in. leftover bodies, and more are dragged off by them to their home. So you can go to a place where you're searching through, and like there's no dead bodies, there's nothing around here, man. Like just everything's like cleaned up. It's because they scavenged everything. Every rotting thing you can think of, they have dragged off. Bodies, items. They'll try to rob you, take your shit. Black Rose. I've covered the fluff for AD&D Second Edition. How it got back to a hardcover from a Monster Compendium because the Monster Compendium idea, good idea, failed. Great idea, failed. Fucking beautiful idea, but failed. And direct use quite often. Went back to the hardcover. Went in and covered the Roper so far. And just getting to the end of the Germain Gremlins. I've talked about them before, but I want to talk about them again and bring up their image and remind people what they look like, baby. Remind people what they look like. Okay. I'll let you guys have a look at this thing. I'll let Black Rose guess what that is. If you don't, it's all right, Black Rose. Might not remember it. Germain are well-used gremlin monsters. Ropers is something AJ Pickett brought up to me several times, so I figured I had to cover them sooner or later. But now we're on to a giant. A certain kind of giant. This is a Verbeeg giant. Alignment, neutral, evil. Basic intelligence to genius. Something similar to the last one. 1 to 6 can appear, but more can as well. We'll get into that. Description known as human, known as like giant humans. Human, be homeless. These human giants inhabit areas infested with hill giants and ogres. Verbeeg vary in height from 8 feet tall to 10 feet tall. And they weigh between 300 and 400 pounds. They are usually thin for their height, although this does not inhibit their fighting ability. Some have minor deformities, such as clubfoot, uneven eye, hair lip, etc. In all other respects, they appear human, including skin, hair, and eye color. They wear as much protective clothing and armor as they can obtain, which isn't much. Usually, they wear furs and hides with pieces of metal armor stitched into strategic places. They almost always carry shields and have the best weapons they can steal. Typically, this means clubs and spears. Okay. Let's talk about their combat abilities. Oh, Black Rose. This Sunday, July 26th, interview with Sam OG. Fellow YouTuber. Stopped doing YouTube a while ago. He's actually played my game. Played a few sessions of it as a fellow YouTuber. Wanted to try it out. Was very, very happy with the outcome, right? So I'm not bringing him on to blow smoke up my ass, but that's how we had a direct connection together a while ago. And I asked him if he wanted to do an interview, and he said yes. So Sunday I'll be interviewing him. I already got a schedule. Yes. Guy is a great talker. You'll really appreciate what he has to say. Great fucking talker. You'll be very entertained by this guy. Sam OG is a fucking awesome guy. French Canadian, right? Fucking beautiful mind for gaming. And if you've ever heard of a guy named Shawnard, well, I'm going to introduce you to Sam OG, a guy with many similar opinions about the game. Oh, probably one of the guys. Ruinslinger and him. Ruinslinger, Sam OG, guys that come from a different world, Burning Wheel. Just very deep on roleplay. Hey, Black Rose, have you heard me talk about the 4D roleplay people? Sam OG was one of the 4D roleplay people before they called it 4D roleplay. So all the new guys that you see around, certain guys that they call 4D, didn't even exist in the group when he started. I mean, shit, he was more on it than Chandra was. Rest in peace, Shauna. Right? Me, him, and Shauna all know each other really well. Rest in peace, Shauna. Wish Shauna was here, because if Shauna was still around, I would have asked him to do one of these interviews. Would have fucking loved to have him on. But Sam OG is definitely up that realm. And very happy to have Sam OG on. He's not Ruin Slinger. That was the guy I was speaking so positively of, because at the time I was asking if he would come on. But I'd say the same things about fucking Sam OG. I love Sam OG. One of my favorite fucking YouTubers ever. Period. One of my favorite YouTubers. I love his fucking content personally. I loved him, and Ruin Slinger were guys that probably didn't understand how much I appreciated the content they were doing. I fucking loved the content they were doing. I love Sam OG. I loved interacting with him. I loved gaming with him. And even though it was a short time, it's still something that still sticks out in my mind. Right? Very fucking fun guy in general. And good talker. Good talker. Very good talker. Very fucking good talker. Right? Has a lot of strong opinions. I don't know if he still holds to them. Back in the day, but I learned from you quickly that wasn't the case. He did and he didn't. He's got to understand. You talk about Shauna. Shauna had an issue with everyone. I'll say this. He shit on me because he knew I could take it. But he was like, he shit on everyone. Did he have it in for me? Man, it's just like, look, he was an older guy. If I pissed him off, man, fuck, he was going to fume. He wasn't going to hold back. But in a weird way, he was honest. Weird way. Weird. Privately talk to him all the time. Weird relationship with Chandra. He's the one guy I could say stuff to, and he wouldn't freak out if I said something. And he knew I wasn't going to whine if he bitched about me. Right? Guys used to get mad at him in his group. I don't know why you bother focusing on Condor. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Combat. Verbeeg are smart enough to let others soften up the enemy first. This does not mean they are cowards, only selfish and practical. Since they are commonly found with hill giants and ogres, in the first few rounds of combat, Verbeeg drive their less intelligent companions before them into battle. Once the battle has begun, the Verbeeg take on the Stranglers and use their missile weapons, usually spears. DMs decide how strong each Verbeeg giant is. Not all have the same strength. So each giant will have like you can actually, there's a table. So they're not all equal. Each one of them can vary. And that strength will decide certain things. Like how far they can throw the spear. The stronger they are, the farther they can throw, right? More damage they can do, stuff like that, pluses. So they're cheap in battle. They're usually always going to be fine with hill giants and ogres. And the hill giants and ogres are really like not bright. So since they're really dumb sort of versions of giants, they'll like actually always send them in first. And they lead them. Sometimes they live together, but we'll talk about that too, right? But they lead them. And then they stand back and just sort of take on things that get by them. Like, oh, we'll kill them. They're cheap. They're not cowards as much as they are just cheap. They're dirty fighters. Put it that way, dirty fighters. Society. Usually never encounter them alone. They always travel with hill giants and ogres. They usually live underground in caves. Most are fighters, but there is the odd shaman amongst them. Running into them out in the wild, it is 1 to 6 you run into them close to their cave. You can often, if you get close to their cave, outside of running into them like the 1 to 6 inside of that, you can run into up to 30 of them, including their chieftain. So they'll have a chieftain and a whole group you can run into if you boom. So when they're living, it's funny. When they live with hill giants and ogres, it's the way they got to order these guys around could be hilarious. Like if you were like to sit there and spy on them, like ogres and hill giants you typically play them as really dumb. Like you run as a DM, you run them as really dumb, especially in like outside of combat or them yelling at something. When they're around like other giants like this, so they're living with, ogres are just not that bright. Neither hill giants, and fucking Verbeeg are just like fucking They could potentially be geniuses, right? So they'll be leaders and like, get the fuck over here, you fucking idiot. Stop fucking that up. Like, they'll talk to them that way. Though, don't get it wrong, the ogre and hill giant can probably snap them in half. Right? Don't get it wrong. But for big, they're just cunts. They're cheap and dirty cunts. Like, we're better than you because we're smarter. And they can have shaman, the odd shaman. They'll have chieftains. If you do run to their cave, like see out in the wild, you might run to 1 or 6 of them with these hill giants and ogres. If you do get to their living area, you can run into their like 30 of them. Right. And don't get it wrong, they can fight. Like if you do take out the fucking hill giants or ogres and got to them, they're not going to be pushover. They're fucking verb-big giants. Ecology, verb-big eat almost anything, but they love the flesh of all. They love flesh of all sorts. They maintain a mutually beneficial relationship with the giants and ogres that share their lair. The verb-big provide the intelligence and direction that these giant types lack, and the giants provide protection by their greater fighting prowess. So basically, by the verb-big making sure they organize the community, make sure they eat, make sure everything works, right? Even though they'll be shitty with them. Don't get it wrong. The ogre and hill giants are way more powerful. And if something threatens the weaker giant verbigs, well, the hill giants and ogres are going to fucking rip that to shreds, right? That's likely to happen. So, likely to happen. But just understand, if you do run these giants, these are going to be like the guys throwing spears at you when you're trying to fight an ogre. Like what? Fucking fighting an ogre? But don't get it wrong. These are the type that would risk the ogre and the hill giant in a heartbeat. Meaning you can move and the fucking spear goes right into the ogre. Like, did he mean to do that? He doesn't care. And they don't. Let's be real. They don't give a fuck. So verb-big are assholes. That's pretty much what you're finding out about them. They're fucking assholes. All right, here's a classic one that you're all going to know. I mean, it's a classic boss. Weirdly, though, dragons will eat these guys up quite often, more than they should. I'll let you guess what that is. I mean, you should just know by looking at it. A lot of heads. I think some famous human... Is it a G.I. Joe? They call him that? You know, some group or something like that. If you don't name it in a second, I'm going to name it anyway. One of the 5 monsters, it's like the only neutral one I have in here. And amazing, it's neutral. It's not alignment evil. Hydra. It's a Hydra. Alignment neutral. Not that bright, but not drooling stupid. One appears when you encounter them. Description: Hydra are immense reptilian monsters with multiple heads. Hydra are gray brown to dark brown with light yellow or tanned underbellies. Their eyes are amber and their teeth are yellow white. Hydra have between 5 and 12 heads. So the image doesn't really do it justice in that way. A lot of heads. Combat. Hydra can bring up to 4 hits into action against a single foe, fighting once with each one of them. Each time a Hydra takes 8 points of damage. One of its heads is assumed to have been severed. So every time a Hydra receives 8 points of damage, one of the heads just like, you cut it off, you break it, you knock the neck down, whatever. When this happens, a natural reflex seals the neck arteries shut to prevent blood and loss and that. It depends on what weapon you're using. So it could potentially be that you just knock the head down, right? Depending. Attack on the body has no effect unless, or I mean, you can almost rip the head off with a mace. I mean, a DM could sort of count it that way. Attack on the body has no effect unless a single attack inflicts damage equal to the Hydra's original hit points. So basically, yeah, you could potentially kill it if you could do like full hit point set worth of death. I mean, damage at once. But if you only do like, say you do like 5 damage, no damage. It pretty much doesn't count that way to the body. So it's immune to body attacks. You have to attack the heads. That's the old school Hydra gimmick. You got to attack the heads and remove the heads to kill the Hydra. Hydra Society. They are solitary creatures who prefer dismal surroundings. They gather only to mate. Ecology. Despite the Hydra's size and multiple attacks, they are often preyed upon by dragons. They are impossible to train. So you can't train them to work for you. You can't train them like a dragon. These things will not listen. And weirdly, because they're not that bright, they'll be eaten up by dragons quite often. There is the Learn Aeon Hydra. Although similar to the normal Hydra, this Hydra will generate 2 hits for each one that is severed. A maximum of 12 hits can be grown back. Their body is immune to all attacks, no matter the damage. There is the Pyro Hydra. These British Hydra have 7 to 8 hits, which are able to breathe a jet of fire. Breathe a jet of fire, like, fire breath weapon, twice per day. 5 feet long, 5 feet wide and 2 feet long, sorry. Then there's the Cryo Hydra. Each head of this purplish-brown Hydra is able to breathe a stream of frost 10 feet wide and 20 feet long. So there is, outside of the normal brown Hydra that you'll run into with up to 12 hits, there are 3 others, and the one with the least amount of hits is the Pyro Hydra, which has only 7 to 8 hits on it, right? And when they lose their hits, of course, they grow back. They do grow back. The other ones breathe, have like, fire breath weapons and frost breath weapons. They are sort of like mini early bosses. It's sort of what I used to call them. It's like a lot of guys will use them that way. It's like, okay, you're not going to say you get to a certain like level 6 to level 8. A lot of these type of things will be used as sort of like mini bosses. Quite popular, well known, used quite often. I don't know, Black Rose, have you used them? Now, I can't go without mentioning a dragon, but I'll give you guys a second to reply. The other 2nd edition DM that's here right now is Black Rose, but he could be busy. But I'm sure he's might have used one. Hydras are popular. I have, of course. Now we'll get in, and these are popular on purpose aside of the Roper. I'm purposely covering ones that are well-known, well-used. Black dragons are abusive, quick to anger, and resent intrusion of any kind. They like dismal surroundings, heavy vegetation, and prefer darkness to daylight. Oh, yeah. They're fucking... I love it when players don't know exactly how they work, and they start, like, attacking the body, and you're like, okay, it's gonna backfire a bit. So they like dismal surroundings, heavy vegetation, and prefer darkness to daylight. Although not as intelligent as other dragons, black dragons are instinctively cunning. Their alignment is chaotic evil. They have normal intelligence to genius. And usually one appears. Description. At birth, a black dragon's scales are thin, small, and glossy. But as the dragon ages, its scales become larger, thicker, and duller, which helps it camouflage itself in swamps and marshes. Black dragons speak their own tongue, a tongue common to all evil dragons. And 10% of the hatchlings black dragons will have an ability to communicate with any intelligent creature. Oh, yeah. Very, very much so. Very much so. On point there, Black Rose. I mean, who hasn't used a Hydra? In old school, especially if you're second edition, who hasn't used a Hydra? And who hasn't used a Black Dragon? Okay, Black Dragon's breath weapon is a 5-foot wide stream of acid that extends out in a straight line from the dragon's head. A Black Dragon casts spells and uses magical abilities at 5th level. Black Dragons are born with an innate water breathing ability and immunity to acid. Juvenile, darkness 3 times a day, and a 10-foot radius per age category of the dragon. Adult, corrupt water once a day for every age category the dragon attains. It can stagnate 10 cubic feet of water, making it become still, foul, and unable to support animal life. When this ability is used against potions and elixirs, they can become useless. When it's old, plant growth once a day. Venerable, summon insects once a day. Great worm. So venerable, we're talking about age. Great worm, charm reptiles 3 times a day. This operates as a charm mammal spell, but it's applicable only to reptiles. So basically, as a age, each one will get these different, like each age will give them different abilities on top of their already spell casting abilities. So Black Dragons are dangerous. They're known for swamps and areas like that because they make it almost impossible for animal life to live around them. Like they'll destroy the water area, make it impossible for things, and that's for security reasons, right? When you come into like a marsh area that's like nothing but just like quiet, or there's not much noise, or there's fucking like you get a smell of death when you come around this thing, you are likely in a Black Dragon, swamp area, which is not good. And they'll turn areas like this into swamp and marsh areas, destroying basically the water. It will smell foul when you come in. It will be rank. Like it should be noticeable when you get there that there's something wrong. It will stick out. The smell will stick out to you in a very awful way. And these are signs you can look for as you're going through it. Some DM tells you, like, it looks like you're in the swamp area. You're like, okay, has a smell? Because it really, the DM will be a little bit of pressure on the DM right there if you start asking stuff like that. Because if it's a Black Dragon area, holy fuck, it's going to stick out to you. There's going to be signs. And if you've encountered Black Dragons before or know anything about them, it's good to start asking questions. It's good. It's good. Society. Black Dragons are found in swamps, marshes, rainforests, and jungles. They revel in steamy environments where canopies of trees filter most of the sunlight. Swarms of insects fill the air. Stagnate moss-covered ponds lie in abundance. Black Dragons are excellent swimmers, enjoy lurking the gloomy depths of the swamp and bogs. They're also graceful in flight. However, they prefer to fly at night when their great forms are hidden by darkness of the sky. Black Dragons are extremely selfish, and the majority of those encountered will be alone. When a family of Black Dragons is encountered, the adults will protect their young. However, if it appears the adults' lives are in jeopardy, they will abandon their young to save themselves without shame. It's the evil side of a Black Dragon, sort of instinctive, ungiving a fuck attitude. They lair in large, damp caves and multi-chambered subterranean caverns. Older dragons are able to hide the entrance to their lairs with their plant growth ability. Black dragons are especially fond of coins. Older Black dragons sometimes capture and question humans before killing them to find out where the stockpiles of gold, silver, and platinum coins are kept. So they're not, I mean, remember, these things could potentially be genius. Why just kill humans when you could like kill them, but also find out where the fucking treasure is, right? Where's your camp? Where's your stuff? Like, I'll let you live if you tell me. All right, it's over there. Okay, I'm going to eat you now. You said you're going to let me live. It's evil. It doesn't give a fuck. Don't kill you. Black dragons will lie to you, and they'll be so obvious in the way they talk They're so that for you to say, can I tell if he's lying to me? Well, he's not speaking honestly, dude. He'll talk to you in a way that's just so obvious that it's like, even if he's telling you the truth, he's saying it in a way that he doesn't care. Or even if there's a slight chance of truth, he won't speak with a tone of truth. Like even the truth will come across as bullshit. So for you to figure out what's going on, it's just the best thing for you to do is not trust anything you're being told. Period. Right? And they're intelligent enough to communicate by comment. Ecology: black dragons can eat almost anything, although they prefer to dine primarily on fish, mollusks, and other aquatic creatures. They are fond of eels, especially the giant varieties. They also hunt for red meat, but they like to pickle it by letting it lie in the pond with their lair for days before eating it. Pickle. You want to be pickled meat? I had a guy, I had done a game years ago, years and years and years ago, over a decade ago. And I allowed for some extreme familiars. They had gotten this ability. They ran into this caster who could create familiars for anybody. Like for anybody. And it used to be, they got familiars. Like each character was getting a familiar for itself. And ironically, I had some really twisted things that you could, go for. And one of the really twisted things was a black dragon. Now, the chances of getting it were so low, I didn't think it would even happen. But it's not like I went in thinking it couldn't. And I wouldn't put a chance like that without being ready to play it out. The guy rolled for a black dragon. Even though the black dragon listened to him, the black dragon would constantly do evil things. And even though the guy would give him rules, like, okay, you can't do this. And he would come back and then have an excuse as to why. Like, I never broke any rules, but I mean, they were doing this, so I accidentally killed them. Like, he constantly do shit that was just so twisted and so evil that the guy had a hard time working with the dragon. Now, don't get it wrong, high level. I could handle the game well. Many enemies were quite powerful in that campaign. And they were at an extent where, even the black dragon wasn't like an overkill. But it wasn't like an old ancient black dragon either. It was like a younger black dragon. Very limited on what it could do. To a degree at the stage they were at in the game. But it kicked ass. But the thing would constantly do evil shit. And it would just... It's a familiar, so it still sees the person as master. It still takes its orders, right? But it would always, because it's so intelligent, it would constantly look for loopholes to do the most twisted things to people when he would give it rules, like orders. That was funny. That was some funny times. You got to have a lot of confidence as a DM to run things like that. But there you go. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed that. The Roper bit at the start was good. Germain gremlins, they're good to know about because they're quite sneaky. They'll actually try to knock guys out, capture them, throw nets on them. They'll even like throw acid and missiles at guys with heavy armor. They'll try to steal your stuff by like cutting your bags apart. In most cases, you won't notice for so many turns. And if you're not paying attention, next thing you know, your pouches can be falling apart. Your money's falling out. You don't even know. Or you're just like walking off. And you check later. The fuck? There goes your stuff. Not wrong. Not wrong. Let's see what else have I talked about there. So Germain gremlins are great. So are the Roper. I mean, I do love them, how they can stick and certain, the Stow Roper can poison you. Yeah, I appreciate that comment there. Giant verbeegs are just, they're like weaker giants that you can actually use in battle, but they are sneaky. And they do improve hill giants and ogres. they'll send them in first, and it is sort of really funny to see them dealing with these things. And if you're going to try to talk your way to a situation, don't talk to the hill giant or ogre. Look for these things, right? Hydras are crazy, but they're really neutral. For the most part, they're not straight out evil. Now, unless they have to eat, if you're at a distance, they won't chase you down to eat you. So you can avoid them. But if you are going to fight them, don't hit them in the body. And obviously go for the head. And once you start hitting heads off, make it as quick as you can. Do not let those things start growing back on you. The Hydra are good early boss types. So if you want to put something epic against like characters that are level 6 to 8, Hydras are great fillers. The Black Dragon, they're the weaker of the dragons. A lot of guys will actually encounter Black Dragons before they encounter a lot of other type of creatures. Black Dragons are also very intelligent and evil, though. The chance to negotiate your way out of a fight with a Black Dragon is very low. Right? So if you come into territories, smell for death, look for signs, be careful, don't trust them. And every monster I mention here, I mean, even the roper, depends on who's using it, are commonly used. Oh, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Oh, fellas, checking something out. Discord's a really funny place. There we go. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. There, we talked about campaigns early, my take on them, improvisation, some advice to build about how to handle certain like new players. Let them learn from experience. Don't worry. At the end of the day, that's part of the gimmick. I would just warn, if you got new players going into the game, just the advice works though. They got to learn. And you want to know what? Some of the best stories are from those. Like some of the best stories come from actually falling on your face. Some of the best stories players will learn is from falling on your face. Then we got into the history. Why did the Monster Compendium sort of go away? Why did they give up on that and go back to hardcover? It really did. Some of them would fall apart. Monsters would go missing. The idea was to keep being able to add hack and slash style, but the dragon used the terrain advantage, waiting to ambush. They rushed in while the dragon waited in the cave. See, oh yeah. See, they're genius and clever. They're so dirty. That's another thing. You're right. That's another part I should be pointing out. Black dragons are dirty fighters. Like they just have no shame. No shame. They're not there to be honorable warriors. That's not what you're running into. And if you think you're going to have a front fight with them, forget it. And when you look at their powers, it should just start telling you without needing to tell you directly just what they're like. Just read what they can do and you start realizing they're fucking sneaky. Monster annual, should they be collected? You're talking about like what, monster leftovers? I don't know. But yeah, Monster Compendium was a good idea, but it in proper use all the time fell apart. Leveled half the group, leveling 20 characters, and they had to flee because they had prepped the wrong magical protections against. Oh my fucking god! I was rolling. Yeah, totally. It's a think on your feet type of situation. Even if you prepare something, I got praised by my DMs for always going, okay, guys, We don't know what we're facing. We think we have an idea. We have this stuff. Well, I'm just going to bring this extra random stuff. And they'd be like, oh, Steven, that's not going to work. We get the right stuff. We get there at the wrong stuff. Next thing you know, my chains, my things are all being used by everybody to save their asses. I'm like, well, I guess I figured that out. I would just go assume, like, man, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Good reminder. Sorry about that there. Have monster animals, softbacks. Not bad. I hated them adding on all the time. I actually didn't like that. The Beck Me part I got. Why they do it with Beck Me Bill? They're experimenting and building. That I get. I do. And when they finally brought out the hardcover for AD&D 1E, I like the concept of extending it with something like Unearthed Arcana. It's like, okay, I don't mind the gimmick with Splat Books, Extended Monsters, as long as it stays in that organized rhythm of an organized book coming out to be added on, right? I said right away, there should be no more flaky monsters coming out. And I even said, there should not be monsters coming out with the settings. I said, if you want to put more setting stuff, bring out a Splat book, right? That should just be separate from the actual setting, right? Monsters Made for Forgotten Realms could have been a Splat book. That was just an extra book with some other gimmicks that we could all use. Optional. I don't mind optional. My point is, if you're going to extend, do it a little bit more organized. I like the organized approach with the 1E hardcover. It's organized, less messy, organized, adding on. Optional things, that's what Splat books were. So Unearthed Arcana was optional. I don't mind if you want to bring out an extra book for Forgotten Realms, but I still would have made that separate. I would not have just brought out monsters with Forgotten Realms. Because I want to make sure there's enough in that extra book that there's equipment, classes, stuff that in reality you can just use for the game, not just for Forgotten Realms. But the aim might be that it's an optional book where you can apply these things to Forgotten Realms. I would have done that. I like the idea of like extras being Splat books. I don't like all the Splat books that come out. I thought they did a sort of terrible, junky version of it for second edition. I didn't like the Complete Fighter's Handbook. I didn't like all that. Some of it was extended material. Some of it was copy and paste. Some of it was the same stuff in each one. Some of it is putting unnecessary things in the stuff. I would have brought out, books where it's new equipment or kits, right? Like a kit factory book, equipment factory, or maybe something just to extend like equipment, skills, stuff like this. I didn't like the gameplay changes because in reality, Unearthed Arcana had an issue with this too. But I mean, if you're going to bring out gameplay changes, it shouldn't be major. I didn't mind some of the ideas, but some of the ideas were better presented in Unearthed Arcana than it was, say, in the Powers and all that books for second edition. It's like they went back to the messy with the second edition Splat books. It's like, no, clean, organized, less, make them attractive. Oh, that's 100% it. But you can't tell me that kits were bad for 2E. Kits were amazing. The process to go through to get them sucked. And that should have never been spread out like that. That was terrible. Because it's something that most people don't discover the kits and how good they are until fucking, in some cases, decades later. And that's a credible thing. Unearthed Arcana had some cool stuff in it. You can't deny that, but that's That's a better way to bring stuff out. There's not 50 books, it's one, right? Very clean approach to splat book stuff. I like that. Missed opportunity, gave fun option for a play, but very little for DM's previous have more teeth. Yeah, I've heard about that. I didn't personally, I didn't check that out, Ron, but I believe you 100%. It's you got to put stuff in that makes sense and sell the stuff. You can't just junk for money. Unearthed Arcana was a wise way of doing it. I liked some of the Bizban stuff, but you start spreading too much. Starts getting messy. It's not everybody wants to play a fortune because it's like Steam games. There's a lot of Steam games getting avoided. Like there's a game I wanted to get called Icarus for Steam. What they don't tell you is to get all the extra stuff, it's going to cost you up to like $140. If not, like in Canadian, almost $200 for the DLCs for basic shit. Yeah. Oh, I totally hear you. And I'm not saying you needed it then either. I'm with you. I'm more with you, Bill, than you could ever imagine. Me and you agree on this more than you know. Second edition to me is the 3 books. And I'm a creative like you. I'm an old school gamer. Give me 3 books, I'll sandbox and come up with my own ideas. I'll add classes, and I did. I was doing kits before kits were ever a thing. Right? It's just that, man, if you're going to sell me shit like that, make sure when I buy whatever I buy, nail it and hit it out of the fucking park, my man. Because if you went to the Fighters, the Complete Fighters book, or the Complete Fighter Thief book, or the Complete Thief book, what would you get out of it? You'd use equipment, some cool stuff. You might use some skills. You might even use a couple of the kits. The rest of it, and what is the kits in that worth given the amount of text they're going to take up? $3. Right? $3. It's like, dude, it should be kits for all classes in one book. Skills and equipment for all potential new stuff in one book. And maybe you might never go buy it, but if you're going to, Bill, I want to get something and get a lot out of it. I'll give this to Unearthed Arcana, and I think you'd agree with me because you have it now. At least if you did get it, there was a collection of cool stuff, right? Yeah, Rob, I 100% agree with you. That was what I was told, and I skimmed through some of them. They feel like second edition in the sort of messiness of, man, it doesn't mean they have no good ideas, but you could have just less money, but more quality. Could have been cut down to like one book with a lot of good ideas instead of just extending books with mess that you're not going to use anyway. We who could not afford the word poor. I'm with you, and I know this. I was poor when I started, and I was given the books. In 91, the reason I could run the game was because I was given the books. One of the main reasons, it's not just that I opposed modules. I didn't care for them naturally, and I could have borrowed them and printed them, but I couldn't afford them. And so I did what I could afford. Same thing with settings. I couldn't afford a setting. There was market settings. Like, do you want to buy this? No, I can't. I have to sandbox and make my own. That's it. TSR was way ahead of its time. Jeez. TSR figured out a lot of stuff so early on that it's like, notice how, and Rob, you're a 5e guy then, or you at least do some 5e. Have you noticed they're all going back to appreciating character death? I mean, that thing we figured out back in the 70s and 80s? Holy fuck, dude. they went and experimented, found it. Hey, it's not working out so well. It's like, yeah, because it's like, look, here's what happens. No matter if you give players what they want, the quality of the game sooner or later will become an issue. And it's like, okay, I'm going to give you a game where character death is less of a threat. But the game's going to get super boring and repetitive. Because you're going to live all the time, you're going to complain about this. And combat will take forever because you never die. And there's never a threat of death, so living on that edge, totally gone. The thrill, you can't replace it. And they all pretend it like, well, you could. No, you can't. Now you know. Right? But we all knew this. We all knew you can't replace character death, not the threat of it. The threat of character death is ultimate failure. It's so worrisome for players that you can never put an alternative in there and get the same living on the edge mentally experience. You can't do it. You just can't do it. You can pretend that you can to win an argument, but you're pretending. What happened? WotC gave people what they wanted. What does that do? Makes money, baby. When you give people what they want. Problem is, they didn't give them the game experience that they really wanted. And most of their people, I hate to say it, you could almost say WotC somewhat did this for you. Sometimes you got to give people the bad thing just to prove it to them that it doesn't work. Sometimes you got to do that because they'll be like, man, I wish character death wasn't a big issue. I'd rather the story. And finally, just one day, you're like, okay, let's do it your way. And then, like after a year, if they figure it out in time, they'll be like, okay, can we go back to the other way? Yeah, glad you figured it out, kid. Let's go. Let's go back to what works. See, I call WotC, I don't mean to pick on them, a de-evolution of the game, a backwards step in the game process. And it's because it kept going after ideas that just don't work. But it's ideas that we knew didn't work. Like, imagine Rules as Written, which is most of 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5th edition. What happened to Rules as Written in TSR? We tried it with one game for one reason. AD&D 1E had Raw only for tournament play. So the at-home game was still optional post-roll, and even Gary said, you learn the game through Raw, but once you master it, make the changes you want because you should know what you're doing by then. And he expects you to make changes. Tweak the rules, not just take the options. He expects you to outright do this. He does it. He expects you to. But out of the gate, for you to get up to the mastery that where he's at, to do what he's doing, he says, learn the game Raw so you can learn how to change it. Right? But so Raw wasn't an overall thing. It was a way to learn. But what was the one area that Raw was required for the sake of everyone having the same experience? It didn't happen in OD&D. It didn't happen in Beckme. It didn't happen in 2nd edition. And it wasn't part of the AD&D at-home 1E game. At home. The tournament style required Raw with modules. Right? And what happened to tournament? Now, a lot of guys who sucked at DMing, who couldn't DM for a fucking lick, did Raw because the book ran the game. What does Gary say in the DMG for 1st edition? Dungeon Master is king, DM is king. But if you did Raw tournament, what happened? The book became king. Now, we had a variety of rule lawyers. Now, if you hear the old school, they have a variety of different opinions. Rule lawyers were cool. They were there to assist the game. And OD&D, that's true. In fact, me, that's true. They were there just to help. But if the DM said, this is how I perceive it, okay, no argument. In 2nd edition, that was true. The guy might know the rule, but if you say that's I don't do it that way, okay, no arguing, right? Who was the one rule lawyer? Because there was one. Why do we have stories with asshole rule lawyers? We had one kind of rule lawyer for one kind of game, and that were the guys that took this tournament Raw approach to their home game. They confused tournament style and the Raw focus as being something you do at home. It's not what you do at home. AD&D 1E, if you really read it clearly enough, you understood 1E at home was do as you please. Master the game, do as you please. Right? Tournament style was the only guaranteed required Raw thing forever. So some of the guys who sucked at DMing, who had the book run the game for them, book is king, not DM is king. They had it backwards. They get home. At 3rd edition copies, the book is king. 4th E, book is king. 5E, book is king. That's it, Rob. 100%. You got it. But they were guaranteed things because, and why do you think, Rob, and I bet you've noticed this, second edition, it kept up with third edition when it came out for live gaming. If you went to real life in conventions or went to online gaming, any place, if you've been around for a while, you know what I'm talking about. Half the games were what? You get a few Beckme, a few OD&D, very few of both, very few, right? When third edition came out, half the games were what? 2E and 3E. When 3.5 appeared, what started? 2E, half the games, sometimes more. 3E was less. 3E and 5E went less. Pathfinder comes in, helps 3E. If you combine Pathfinder and 3E and 3.5, if you combine all three in their active games, still half the games 2E, AD&D, and the other half are those. Again, very few OD&D and Beckme games happening. Very few. Anybody who tells you otherwise is fucking bullshit lying. Let's just be clear. I love Beckme. I love OD&D, so I'm not trying to down, but I just reality. Go to any place, anybody says, yeah, they were fucking suck my ass, you lying piece of shit. No, they weren't. Right? No, they weren't. So second edition, half. When 4E comes out, 3E starts disappearing. 2E, more than 3E and 4E together with Pathfinder. When 5E comes out during the testing, 2E is still out competing 5E in the testing, out competing 4E and 3E. Yeah, and in all honesty, I do single classes, but I don't mind. See, here's my rule, Robin. I never got mad at players for min-maxing. I'll tell you my principle as to why. Just let me clarify this. I don't mind if you try to get the most out of 2E as a player. My rule is the game should be able to handle whatever options it's giving you. And guess who's responsible for making sure you're not getting any options that would break the game? The DM. But either way, any options you get should never be your fault as a player. Nobody should label you. Nobody should criticize you because it's not your mistake. You're just playing a game. You go in, oh, it gives me the best plus, I'll take that. Well, I say to the other players complaining to the DM, if you don't want him having the fucking plus, take it out of the fucking broken game. Make sure it works. In AD&D second edition, you could take every plus because it works. It doesn't blow up the game. And if it did, if a DM felt it did, they change it. Because guess who was responsible for that? Not the player taking the plus, the DM. So I look at a 3E DM. Stop being a fucking lazy piece of shit. Stop being no good as a DM. Get rid of a fucking rule and stop blaming the player for what you are responsible for. So basically, min-maxing, if it was an issue, guess whose fault it was? Not the player, the dungeon master. And we should appropriate call out the people whose fault it is for allowing it. And we got to look at WotC. They're giving players what they want, but breaking the game in the process without caring. They barely game test 3E before it came out. Barely any game testing. It came out shit. Splatbook stuff, DMs knew better. They tried a lot of stuff. Beats, they tried that in 2E with Splatbooks. DMs were like, nope. Because guess who's responsible? If I put, as a 2E DM, Robin, if I put feats in the game and it blows up the game, whose fault is it as a 2E DM? Mine or the players? Players. It's not even the principle. It's just like it's okay for any player to play the game the way they want if the option's there. And we should never shame players for any way they play. Oh, it's emotion. Just shut the fuck up with that. Well, it's not even that. It's if there's an option Don't allow it. So just say, no, I'm not. I hope you're not picking. I'm talking generally to the public when I'm doing this. Sorry, Robin. Please don't take it as a personal thing there. That really was not actually any intent on my end to be saying that to you personally. I'm just saying it in general. Like, I'm sharing my passion about this. And I don't disagree with you either, but then the DM should have a rule that if you want to do this, you got to talk to me first, like a host rule. Like, because if the player can do it, and the DM is like, "Well, man, I don't like that you did that." No, DM, you can't. You got to make it a host rule. They can't do this unless they work it over you. Yep, people love playing overpowered characters. Their balance is plowing through bad guys, charming beholders. Yeah, that's Bill. That's 100% it. That's 100% it. You put host rules in, you adjust, and I think Bill would definitely agree because Bill comes from a game. Beckman. Oh, the game is made to handle its shit, right, Bill? Bill gets what I'm saying. Bill, if you came in and wanted to get the most out of your character, you can do it, and you know you're not hurting the game, right? Right. That's it. The game should always. So you got to get after WotC, you got to get after the DM, and you got to stop shitting on players because players are, in my opinion, completely innocent of this. Right? We get new people in the hobby, they don't know this stuff. Taming players who are newer to the hobby used to that kind of crap playing style, but they do like toned down aspects of second ed, the grittiness. The game balances it out. It's like taming. I don't tame in the way you think. I just go in. All right, that breaks the game. That's gone. You can't do that. No, host roll it out. I can't do that. Okay, that break the game. So what I would do is just go, players, no matter what you think of my changes, no matter what, right? At least whatever you take, the game can handle. And nobody here is going to shame you for what you pick. So take your best pluses, dude. I'd like you to be creative because I think there's more interest. And what I hope is to show them in the game. See, we can preach at people all day, but I think all of you, I think all of you would agree with me on this. Show people what they could have done when they haven't done it. How creative it can be when you have a flaw. Show them the experience in the game. How repetitive. Point out how repetitive it is. You guys got no flaw. Wouldn't it be interesting if I couldn't do this and you had to go through this? Have talks with them like that. Share principles. Show them quality. I mean, really, let them think about it. Let it drill into their head that way. Instead of preaching at them, sometimes note how it could have been more interesting. Like, imagine your guy couldn't swim. Holy fuck, that'd be crazy, right? Yeah, that actually would be fucking interesting to run to that limit and have to figure it out. Yeah. Like, remind them how cool it is, and it is to not be perfect. Don't just preach and yell at people or be mad at them. Like, I'm enthused at the players needing to figure it out through their mind, what to do when they don't have a thing. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's creative. And it creates flavor. It creates flavor when you don't have all the bonuses. You got to risk running it. Tell them stories like, imagine you're the fighter with a little pluses, but man, there's that young fucking couple screaming. What do you do? Stay there like a coward behind the rock or run out and fight? Like, just give a little bit of juice to people. That I agree with Black Rose. I play using lots of optional rules as flat books too. So I guess it's a compromise they're familiar with. So second ed with extra stuff. It's now instead of thinking like they've broken away, they have become more role players now instead of thinking they're broken. That's what we're talking about here. Sorry, Black Rose, you're completely right. You got to remind people how cool this stuff is. That's what I hope I'm doing with most of my game coverage when I'm telling you about how you can fuck up with Bushido. I've done some monster videos recently about the gelatinous cubes, learning from making mistakes in the game, and how fun those stories are, right? Like, man, the first time, or joking tonight about the guy who played a thief who didn't have the thing to pick locks and they were laughing. Or putting limits on yourself, like being hooked on drugs. Right? There's flavor, and there's flavor that helps develop who a character is. And you learn as a player, you can get through shit. And the limitation, sometimes it's that grind against making you somebody. If not, you just end up playing a video game, or it feels that way, and you miss out. And I'd rather players feeling like they're missing out on something instead of being preached at. Because when you shit on people, you just make them angry with you. You make them reject what you're telling them. Think about it. We all know this is true. Go shit on some player for being a munchkin. Well, fuck you. They'll keep doing it. Right? And you get a lot of people out there that are like that. They don't learn, and we don't deliver nothing to them. So if you want people to change, you got to hit at them in a different way. And you can't expect people to just get things. That's why you put limits, host rules, step in, and you just got to do it, dude. You just got to do it. Right? If they start taking something that breaks the game, that shouldn't be in there. That's it. That's where we're at. Okay, guys. 3.5 hours. I hope you enjoyed tonight. Sunday. Well, Saturday is Conspiracy X. Right? We just make sure that's right. Let me check this out. I think it is. I'm not gone yet. Give me a second here. We'll do a verification before I go. Okay, Saturday is Conspiracy X, the tabletop role-playing game. Sunday is going to be the interview with Samuel G. And honestly, guys, it is honestly really, really good and interesting. Like he's a great, fantastic, entertaining guy. Well, thanks for stopping by, Robin. I really appreciate your time. I hope to see you soon. Again, more. Yes. I'm glad. I love people that could disagree and still come here and take it in. I don't expect everyone to agree. Love it that you're cool like that. Really appreciate it. Few and far between people like that. Few and far between. So fucking love that. Really do. And with so many people that aren't like that, you got to really show people some appreciation when they're shut up. I don't agree with everything, but fuck, I'm cool here. Awesome. Appreciate it more than you know, Robin. Way more than you know. Yes, with the roper and all that will be good. That would be good to check out. And some ads. All right, Black Rose, Bill, Robin, and anyone else who was watching, commenting, post all that. I love you guys. All right, I'll see you Saturday for sure. I'll put out a video sometime tomorrow. Conspiracy X, the tabletop role-playing game, interview Sunday, and the last stream of this month will be me sitting down with you for an off script. Okay, I'll come up with some topics. I'll post them beforehand. Okay, and you'll see my new